Hello and welcome to the Game Informer Show. I am Andy McNamara, your host. This week, we are going to chat some games, and then we'll go into community emails, and then just kind of discuss larger mail or kind of just news items in the second segment. So we're going to start off with Andy Reiner.
Hello, good sir.
How you doing, Andy?
I'm good.
Excellent, excellent. And Ben?
Ben Reeves.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
What is it, Steve Holtz?
Yeah, Steve Holt.
That was definitely a Steve Holt. I'm down on that reference. So how you doing, Ben?
Good. Just
Excellent.
chilling, hanging
Chilling?
out. Yeah.
Very
Had a
good.
good
Very
trip
good.
last week.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
We'll talk about it in a minute.
yeah, we will. And then Alex Stadnick is in the booth.
You guys get to see my ugly mug again. Hello, friends.
Oh, look at him.
Hey.
Ugh.
How you doing, Alex?
I am wonderful. I've been so excited to talk about this show ever since we oh, man, I can't talk. Ever since we discussed what it was going to be, I'm excited for this one. So.
Okay, all right. So once we kind of, we have a little inside baseball. We have a morning meeting every week, or every day, I should say. And early in the week, we kind of discuss what we're going to get on the podcast, and we had that this morning. So we select the panel based on what we're going to talk about. I know this is shocking.
Yeah.
This is totally shocking.
It's not based on looks, which you might think.
Which you might think.
Yeah,
Which you might
but-
think. I mean, because it's truly a very good-looking panel. That's
right.
Yeah.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. It's, so
Wink, wink.
So we're going to talk about another thing. We're going to talk about Doom. We're going to talk about Dragon Ball, and we're going to talk a little Call of Duty League, since that's coming to Minneapolis this upcoming weekend. So let's start with your trip, Ben.
Yeah.
Doom. So you went and played Doom.
That's right.
Let's hear about it. Doom Eternal.
Yeah, I played the first 3 hours of the game, the single player, so we didn't touch multiplayer in this trip, but man, it's a lot of fun. Turns out, like, I thought the 2016, I don't know, reinvention, if you would want to call it that, was really solid, really good game, and this takes what they did in 2016 and just continues to build on it.
Okay, that first game is great.
Yeah, that's continue to
the
build on that.
2016
It's just
one.
Yeah, the 2016 one. So the 2016 one is, number one, it's amazing. And I think one of the things that I found so charming about it was that, you felt like you were solving a puzzle a little bit. You're like, this is when I get the berserker. Then I kill these guys. Then I go that guy. You kind of like, you worked a strategy out.
chaining together combos in Tony Hawk almost.
Yeah.
Right?
When you failed something, you found a new way to deal with it. And like, it always did a thing when something would spawn, you'd be like, oh no, these guys are coming. And you had to add them to like what your strategy was. And so great game. Explain to me how they're elevating that.
I don't get it.
Like explain to me how it's better.
Yeah, better's, I guess, subjective. Like, they talked about, like, so that 2016 one, they talked about, like, combat puzzle was their kind of terminology for it, and, like, still that, but if 2016 was, like, a Tetris game, they've added more pieces to Tetris, so there's more tools in your toolbox when you approach combat, and, like, the enemies, conversely, the AI is a little bit better, it's a little more aggressive, so you have more tools, but then you're also combating something that's a little bit more fierce. So one of the things, like the basic loop of like, you don't do cover, you got to run into combat, you got to keep moving, you don't have to worry about reloading, it's all about very fast, visceral action, which I love and is great, and it's all about punching dudes to get ammo back and constantly moving, constantly switching your guns. That's all there. And one of the new tools is Flame Belcher is what they call it. It's a flamethrower.
Okay.
And so you want to corral dudes into a circle and then hit them with the fire. And when they are on fire, they start dropping ammo. So it's like another opportunity to sort of bolster your health or your armor, which protects your health, right?
Yeah, basically your resources.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Another thing they've added is a Blood Punch. Hopefully you like these names.
I love these names.
Yeah.
The writer on this went wild, man. I love it. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing is like the 2016 one is they embraced the campy, like over the top vibe, and like you're a Doom Slayer, so you're this like, it's sort of mysterious on what you are, but like all the demons fear you because you're this thing that's taking out waves and waves of demons, so that's still there. But anyway, the Blood Punch is a thing that builds up over time. It's a physical punch, and it can take out bigger dudes or it can take out waves of enemies in a single punch, which is really cool. And the enemies too, so they added new AI to the enemies. So one of the examples they used was the Mancubus, which is the big fat guy with like the two arm cannons. He was like in the last game easy. You could just run up to him and shotgun him and kill him. Now it's like a lot harder to get close to him. He's very deadly up close, and so you want to keep your range, but you can take out his arm cannons. So each weapon has different mods and stuff. So you could take out his arm cannons with like a sticky grenade, which is a modification for the super shotgun, and then he'll be a lot less deadly.
Gotcha.
So it's like a lot easier.
Do you
to
pick up
approach.
his arm and use his weapons against him?
No, that'd be cool. But you do like jump onto his back and you like you have a giant blade, you stab it into his heart and you feed his heart to him.
Yeah, that's new now. The arm blade,
Yeah.
the Wolverine claw kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like this giant arm. It's an arm blade that comes out, and they use it a lot for glory kills, which is the physical.
Yeah,
like,
kind of
takedown.
finishing moves.
Yeah, finishing move.
And traversal, right? Like, isn't that?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like there was a lot more
Climb
like
with it or something like that?
platforming and like kind of movement in this game
Yeah.
versus the other games.
So that's the other aspect to it is like combat's tweaked, but the traversal is in a lot of ways new. Let's say so.
Okay.
Like you can. One of the things that I think is the most important aspect that they've added is the dash. So you have a dash now. You can dash twice before it needs to recharge. You can dash in the air. So it's really it just increases your mobility insanely, and you can use that in combat for really good reasons. Another thing you can do is just for traversal, like platforming stuff, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you can dash really far across a gap, and then you can like latch on to a wall and climb up it, kind of like Spider-Man, which is fun. Not any wall. There's specific walls you can
Doom
climb.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Was it pretty easy to see the resource that you managed with that? Like, or did you find yourself like trying to dash and you didn't have it back up again because you only had two? Like, kind of.
It only takes like a second or two to reset.
To kind of
Like,
reset.
yeah, you
Okay.
just got to wait a second. So I don't think there's anything on screen you have to manage.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's good.
I'd never had a problem I was never like trying to dash and couldn't. Usually you use dash to get out of the space, and then by the time you want to use it again, it's ready.
Excellent. And the story is this still over the top silliness that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where does it begin, by the way? Because the last one was Mars and Hell. So where does this one kick off?
It began basically on Earth. So Hell is being invaded by demons again. It actually, because the last game took place on Mars and Hell, but you didn't get to see Earth. So you get to see Earth now.
Excellent.
And it's totally overrun by demons, and it basically looks like hell.
It's like hell.
Yeah, it happens,
But so it starts out basically on Earth. You're the Doomslayer, so you have this like satellite base you're using now. So after each mission, you come
It
back.
has an awesome name. Do you know?
Oh gosh, what was that? Yeah.
He even put Doom in the name of his base.
It's pretty good. So you have this base that you're constantly like unlocking things in that base too, and you can go do training missions there, and you get new weapons there. It's really cool. But then you port down to Earth or Hell or wherever you're going between missions. So that's where it starts. And like when you first land, like in the first like 10 minutes, I saw this giant skyscraper-sized demon like walk by. I was like, oh, I'll probably have to fight that at some point. But it looks awesome. Like game visually looks incredible.
So they delayed this game because they needed to work more on the multiplayer, is what I hear. But yet you didn't play multiplayer when you were at this event.
Yeah, they didn't want us to play that, I guess.
And it's not even versus multiplayer, right? Or it is. It's more of like
It's like a 2v1 thing.
asymmetrical multiplayer experience.
So one player is the Doom Slayer, and then two people control a bunch of demons, and you can kind of like throw different things. It's a little more strategy to it, whereas the Doom Slayer is like a blunt force object and just
right.
kills everything it touches.
I mean, do you guys care? Do you want multiplayer in a Doom game?
I did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But then what I played in 2016 didn't do it for me, and I just want more single player.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would have rather had an extra 5 hours of single player or expansion packs as a single player than any of the multiplayer.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
For me, the multiplayer was one of those things where I was good at it. So I was like, oh, this isn't bad. And then I looked online and everyone was like, this is terrible. I was like, right, this is terrible, guys. This is bad.
No, I'm good at it.
No, please don't. But
Yeah, nobody was playing.
yeah, yeah, that's why.
I can finally go pro in a multiplayer game and no one cares.
Yeah.
Well, you're the best in the world when there's only you.
Exactly. So did they said no traditional multiplayer then? Is it just this synchronous mode?
It's just that for now.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe they can add something later, but
But you can invade your player's single player game. Did you do any of that?
I didn't get to see any of that. So it was just it was just the first 3 hours. So there was stuff that was still unlocking throughout the campaign. Like I never got to the double shotgun, which has the grapple hook that we've seen in different demos, which looks really fun, but I didn't get to play with that, unfortunately.
I always feel like they should do like the Rockstar move, where it's like you put out like GTA 5 and you're like, we're going to put out some multiplayer stuff later.
Yeah.
And then make it an additive thing to the game where you're like, oh, cool, they added this thing to this game, right? That's neat.
I think that'd be smart because I think if you just review the single player of this game, it'll score really well, I think. So if you have to
if you have to
factor in a crappy multiplayer mode, which I'm not saying this one's crappy. I'm just saying if.
Yeah, it definitely takes a great formula and makes it where it's kind of that last sentence in the review where you're like, I loved everything about this game. Well, except this one thing that just brings the whole package down. You know what I mean? And I think they could avoid that. I feel like that's avoidable for Doom. I think they should focus on. I'm with you guys. The multiplayer for me didn't really do anything. I don't really know that I want asynchronous. I mean, maybe they'll prove me wrong.
It's
but
those
it just
legacy
doesn't seem-
check marks they got to have on it, right? Like all these old things appease every fan ever of Doom, but you don't need to do that. Like you have a new beginning and people really latched onto it and want more of it, and give them that.
Yeah, I mean, focus more on making it more like arcade modes where you can just be really, really good, points and like combos, and just focus on making that game that people love, that puzzle combat, right?
Yeah.
Feel good and be more rewarding and let people create crazy, crazy chains. I think that's where the fun lies in that series.
Yeah, for sure.
And the fact that I love that it is basically all my old metal albums come to life. Every metal album cover.
How was the new soundtrack?
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, it's super metal. I was actually talking to Hugo Martin, who's the creative director, and I was like, oh, this soundtrack's great. And he was like, yeah, it's interesting if you go back and listen to the old Doom soundtracks, the original 90s ones, it's more jazz than heavy metal. I'm like, really? And so I went back and was like, yeah, it kind of is. It's a weird thing because you think it's so metal because it looks like a heavy metal album cover, but sound-wise, now it fits. Yeah.
I'm going to forget the name of that, but the main track from the last game was Rip and Tear or something like that is the name of the song. I can't remember. I don't know why, 4 months ago or 5 months, I listened to it for a week straight. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why. I just all of a sudden I was like, I'm way into that Doom song. And
when you're driving or?
Yeah, I was listening in my car. I was working out to it. I don't know why. I was just I got way into it. And of course, I can't remember the name of it, but
no wonder you were so aggressive last week.
It was just a song I got into. So I'm really looking forward to Doom. I think it's going to be exciting.
Oh, yeah.
So April?
I mean, it's the only game between now and March, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you care about Warcraft Reforged, that's pretty soon. But it's you can play it in April because it comes out on March 20th.
Oh, March 20th.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad. March 20th. That's great.
It's also the same day as Animal Crossing, which is the weirdest juxtaposition of games I think I've ever seen. Just totally different.
So you can kill demons to save Earth or pick apples to make a pie for your neighbor.
Yeah, maybe that's how you decompress after.
Alex, games are for everyone.
That's true. Touche.
I'll play them both. That'd be a fun juxtaposition. Take a break from one to get the other.
Yeah, at some point you die enough in Doom that you're like, I just got to step away to get my powers back.
Yeah.
You ever do that in FPS? I have that thing where I can't get past something, I have to walk away, and then I come back and totally own it.
Strategy games too, where you're just your brain gets fried at some point. You're like, I just can't think anymore. I need to step back and refresh.
Yeah.
So speaking of games are for everyone, Dragon Ball.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Nice
Dragon Ball
segue.
Z Kakarot for PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC.
What does Kakarot mean? Other than sounding like a boss in Doom, by the way.
I got this.
Oh, God, Alex.
It's Goku's Saiyan name, what he was born with. Kind of like Kal-El to Clark
really?
Kent.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. Okay.
Sounds like we got some Dragon Ball fans on the panel here.
Yeah, huge. I know it all. Super Saiyan, right? Go.
Yeah. Hey, that's a term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 40 hours into this game now.
40 hours?
I'm still going, trying to get the review done. It's a huge RPG.
Can you explain it to us a little bit? I mean, I know we've done some live streaming of the game, and there's plenty to watch out there. But
level,
let's just give us an overall.
It's going through the anime is basically the cartoon series from beginning up until what, Super or GT?
It's right before that. So it's the Saiyan saga, the Cell saga,
up to Boo,
the Frieza saga, and the Boo saga. Yeah. So all the main pillars of the original
Does that
DBZ
feel
anime.
like too much story? Because my impression of that is that's a lot.
I'm 40 hours into the story. So yeah, it's a lot of story, man. There's a lot there. But it's kind of retelling those adventures with Goku and his son Gohan and Vegeta and stuff like that. And it's charming. It reminds me of why I like these shows. Yeah. And it's also fun. I think they do a really good job of making the combat feel as bonkers and over the top as the show. You're shooting lasers out of your hands left and right, powering up, your hair's turning to fire energy constantly, right? Every enemy you take on, whether it's just standard ones in the overworld or big bosses, you're just going nuts. And it's done really well. Like you feel like you have a lot of moves. You can kind of customize your move set for specific encounters. And the one problem the game runs into is since it's so story-based, you're constantly switching characters, right? In RPGs, I usually like to focus on my main and level them up. But it turns out, spoiler, Goku dies in the story all the time.
Like every 5 minutes, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I'm leveling it up, and all of a sudden he makes the ultimate sacrifice in the story, and it's like, oh, well, I shouldn't have used those orbs on him because he's in heaven now.
Well, is it really the ultimate sacrifice if he does it every 5 minutes?
Well, I mean, it's not every 5 minutes. That's an exaggeration, but it's like he'll be out of the game for 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm playing with my support guys, and it's like, well, should I even focus on them, or should I save these for Goku when he comes back and then eventually dies again? So that becomes a problem in that it's just kind of like you never
know where
know.
to spin. Yeah,
you never know when it's going to happen, and they give you plenty of opportunities to grind out, collect orbs. It's kind of like Crackdown. You're flying around collecting orbs to power up your abilities. But then they kind of lock the skill tree, which is another problem where it's like it's story-based, right? You can't go Super Saiyan from the outset of play. You can't grind the first area and do that. You got to get to certain points in the story to unlock more of the skill tree. So that becomes an issue, and you just kind of feel like, okay, I have Vegeta, I have all these orbs, I can't do anything with them because it's all powered up. So now I'm just sitting on stuff. Or do I give it to my support? Or do I wait for Goku? You never know what's going to happen next. So in that capacity as an RPG, it's a little confusing, right?
Okay.
But the one thing that is really fun is they have this thing called a community board where you get these icons for characters. And they have like, what is it, Alex, 6 different community boards?
I think so. Yeah.
And they're basically like these trees that you link together, almost like family trees where these characters know each other. And if you link them together, put these icons in these spaces together and they know each other, you get bonuses. So it'll be bonuses in like for combat or crafting, loot drops, stuff like that. So you're building this thing and you're doing side activities in the game to get new icons of characters.
And there's like, they do every character, it looked like when we were
is this like Lego Star Wars kind of thing?
You can't play as a lot of these people, but it's the same like overwhelming amount of characters that you can put on this board.
It is Lego Star Wars like, and collecting them, and you're like, oh, I got a new one, and then you got to figure out who it slots in next to give you the biggest bonus.
Can you reset that? Or
yeah,
is it
you can just move them around wherever you want.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
It's fun. That's a really fun kind of RPG element to this game that's kind of surprising in how deep it is. I love that. I love flying around. Like, it has that superhero vibe where you can rocket off the ground.
It's like Superman 64 all the time.
You are flying through rings. You rocket off the ground and you're just ripping through the air. If you hit a mountain, it crumbles. It doesn't stop you.
Yeah.
That stuff's very cool. Again, it gets a little one-notish in its combat just because it is just you're flying around shooting lasers out of your hands. That's all it is. But they do a good job of making the combat tough. Like they have, like, you'll be level 50, your enemy will be level 52 with 2 million hit points.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration.
So it's like intense.
Yeah,
as far as the
it's
combat
intense.
goes.
You're using a lot of healing items, stuff like that.
Does it feel grindy with it being all the same?
It does at times.
Yeah.
It depends on how much of the side content you want to do. And as I just said, that's an element I like. So I am going off the beaten path a lot to get these things to power up, my whole team ultimately with these bonuses on the back end. But it's good. I think it's a fun game. It does justice to what that series has been. And it's a little different. You have the great Dragon Ball fighting game, Fighter Z, or Fighters. I don't know.
Fighters, I think is what it's officially called.
Yeah, that game's great. And this is just something different that embraces what's great about Dragon Ball in just, a slightly different but true way.
So does it look as good as Fighters did?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it's not, it's a different beast altogether. Like, I think the way Fighters presents the battles is more striking, whereas you're behind the character. That's a little different, but when you do power up, it zooms in on their face and gives you like that really powerful moment. So yeah, I think it's in the same breath as that in terms of visuals.
All right.
I mean, is it something that you have to be a fan of? Is it pure fan service?
It's such a different RPG experience that I was just kind of engaged in it just for that on its own, just kind of how it's not doing things you usually see in RPGs, like the flying around and all that stuff. but at the same time, everything about it is fan service for Dragon Ball fans. So you should be a Dragon Ball fan if you want to. I don't think you'll get much out of it if you're not.
So it's not like the best Superman game ever. It's like, hey, if you really want a Superman game, maybe play this because it'll scratch that itch.
Yeah, I would say Fighters is the best Dragon Ball thing out there. But you know, if you haven't experienced Dragon Ball, it does a decent job of retelling the story. And this is probably a shorter way to experience the entire series.
It is. If you've ever had an interest in this but don't want to do the 300 episodes, it cuts out a lot of that filler. So if you've had an interest, I would say this is for you as well.
So that said, I'm 40 hours into it, so it's still a long haul.
Yeah,
right?
it's good for an RPG, though. I mean, for an RPG, you expect a certain amount of time commitment. I mean, I think sometimes 90 is a little long, but I think 40 is in the range, right?
I think
45,
I'll probably
50?
cap out around 50.
Yeah?
Where I'm at in the game. Yeah.
Wow.
So, Alex, what do you think as a fan? Speaking of fan service.
So I like I said, I think it is great for people who don't have the time to go back to watch hundreds of hours of the show. Because there's a lot. There's those sites that like tell you where the filler episodes are that you can cut out of, and there's just not there's not a ton of that because in the show the fight sequences are so long, but they're really gratifying, and that's what I appreciate so far of what I've seen of the game is like it does have those, like Reiner was talking about. If you're a fan of DBZ, those fights seem pretty drawn out in an epic way, which I like that they encapsulated in the game. You know, I need to get more into it. I'm not far in it like Reiner is, but so far, just as someone who grew up with the show, I'm really enjoying the tip, like the tip of the cap to what I enjoy about it.
So do you watch movies? Does it have videos that you watch that are from the show? Are they? Is it everything done in engine?
Everything's done in engine. You do pick up these little collectibles that give you snapshots from the episodes.
Okay.
You know, just a still frame though.
Gotcha.
And from like the original Dragon Ball too, which is I really appreciated. So.
Is it fully voiced then? Is it just like voice from the show?
It's mostly voiced. So the big story sequences have voices from the characters from the show, and then if you're in a side mission, you'll just hear the character be like, "Hey," and then you got to read text.
It's gotta be weird for them to come and re-record this thing you did like 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And they fill in some gaps. There's like some new story elements that Akira Toriyama and the team put in to flesh things out a little bit more.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough there.
Right.
Yeah, there wasn't enough content. And as someone who's been trying to get back into the show over the last year or two and just haven't been able to as much, I like the idea of this game because then it's going to... I now want to go watch Super, which is like the continuation of Z. They kind of scrapped GT canonically, I'm pretty sure. So if this can do that,
following along perfectly.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
exactly.
Yeah, you got this. GT was just not super popular, at least in the West. But I'm with it if it can get me to actually watch some more of the show. So, and I think there's a really good opportunity. As Reiner's saying, there are definitely flaws in this, but if they continue down the path and improve what's kind of lacking, I would love them to do like a super game in this style of RPG.
Well, I mean, there's obviously tons of fans out there, and I mean, hopefully the game does well, and they can keep making games for them. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and the review should be up on this site. Any day now, if not already. But.
So you're thinking 10?
Oh, 5,000 power level 5,000.
5,000?
Yeah.
5,000? Okay.
At least.
At least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not indicative of the entire world. Our chat when we streamed it was really high on the game, and it was fun to talk to them about it. So that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've never gotten into Dragon Ball. I mean, that's just I think it's one of the things that like sometimes I'm like, I have to do this as like be into wrestling and anime, whatever, as a video game editor. Sometimes I think about those things, but I just like playing games all the time, and like watching shows just gets kind of boring for me a little bit, and I just don't have the time to kind of watch those things. But I love when games capture a community and what they love about something, and so I think
that's who this is for specifically. Like, it's the greatest hits of Dragon Ball for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's really cool. That's a great thing. And but enough Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Enough Dragon Ball. So this weekend, Minneapolis is home to something that I want to talk about quickly, which is that I've been into esports for a while now, and we've never really had a big event here in town. We did have the Timberwolves, the T-Wolves Gaming won the championship for 2K, which
World
was
champions, baby.
Which is crazy and like kind of happened under the radar. I think the NBA league they've done a lot of cool things in that league, but it still needs a lot of work to kind of like bring up the profile. And I do think that particular sport faces the problem of it's easy to understand as an esport because you're like, I understand basketball. But then you're also like, I could just watch basketball, right? you know, I think that's a challenge for that particular esport. But in Call of Duty, you can't just like go watch regular people Call of Duty it up, except maybe on the news. So Call of Duty, we got a team here in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Røkkr, which kind of I was not expecting us to get.
What's the spelling?
Rökkr.
Okay.
It's a reference to the Twilight, I guess, you know, of the gods of war
it's not
or whatever.
rock and roll. It's
it's more like a Ragnarok.
Norse.
Yeah.
Ragnarok kind
that
of
makes sense.
reference.
to tie into the Vikings who own the
Own the
team.
team.
Who own part of the team. Yes.
The Wills,
Yeah. So, but once again, like once they went to a franchise mode for Call of Duty, which is based kind of like the franchise mode that they did for Overwatch, which I know you were a big fan of the first season of Overwatch.
Oh yeah, huge. I still love watching it every once in a while.
Yeah, and that's coming up. But this is the big thing is that that games have to happen in these towns. And so the way they've handled it for Call of Duty is that there's kind of these long weekends where all the teams come in town. So Dallas, the 2 LA teams, London, Paris, they're all coming to town, and they're all going to play matches at the Armory here in Minneapolis this weekend. So it starts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so tomorrow, because this is when the podcast comes out on Thursday. So I'm kind of excited about this. I've watched Call of Duty for a while. It's going to be kind of crazy. Reiner's done some research on this stuff. He's done some interviews around this, talked to the Røkkr, as have I. I appeared on the Røkkr podcast last week, which was kind of fun to go hang out with those guys and see what's going on. So you're going to go this weekend, right?
Oh yeah. I can't wait to check this out. It's probably one of the fastest shooters out there. So I worry about how they're going to present it.
Yeah.
Like that was a problem with Overwatch. Like whenever they'd switch to like Tracer or Genji, when the pros are playing those characters, it's just chaos.
And they do hard cuts, and you're like, where am I? And it's confusing.
Yeah.
And there'll be like two tracers, so you're like, which tracer am I on? Like, which team am I following as well? I agree.
And I think that's the thing I'm looking for the most is how they can present this for the mass market. You know, as people who play the game, we get it. You know, it's like if football was in the helmet of the running back, that was your perspective of watching a game. That's kind of what it's like to watch esports. But they're saying they're going to have
this particular esport.
Yeah, they're saying they're going to have different camera angles and stuff like that to frame the action in a more digestible way for people that might not, you know, just like watching it from the first person perspective. So I want to see what they do there. Like, because that's the thing, the big hurdle I think these teams or these leagues need to solve at this point. They have the image, they have, you know, the markets, the logos that you can put on T-shirts now. It really does feel like kind of like a real sport now, right? Like how they present it. It's just when you watch it, is it just for us still, or can they break that, you know, break out into the mainstream a little bit?
Yeah, for sure, Ryan. I think you're 100% right. I mean, that's one of the things I think why League and Dota do well is that you get this kind of like, you get this kind of like when you watch football, you watch all 11 players from a distance, right? And you're totally right that when you go to these first-person shooters, it's very difficult. And that's the best game that's done, Counter-Strike has done the best job of making first-person shooters the most watchable that it can be, right? And that's what Search and Destroy is kind of for Call of Duty. It's slower paced. If you die, you're out, kind of thing. Like that it creates a scene where you can follow who the players are and who's left versus like Respawn games, like where you're just like, are they just like dying over and over again?
Yeah.
Like a kind of thing. It takes time to watch it and understand it. But I like to point out, if you would have ever watched football without having watched a bunch of football or have someone explain to you, it would make no sense. Rugby still makes no sense to me, right? Someone has to explain it, and you have to learn how to watch it. And I think you have to learn how to watch Call of Duty. You have to learn how to watch Overwatch.
Yeah.
But you are correct. There's a hurdle in explaining and showing how the games are being played. And the hardest thing for Call of Duty, in my opinion, is that because they make a new game every year, because they make $1 billion every year putting out a new game, that they kind of restart the whole sport.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm really interested this weekend to see, like, how are people going to play these games out? I mean, these guys have been scrimming, but, like, when it comes to game time, it's going to be interesting how they play it, how they show it, and also, too, like, what bugs are in the game that we're going to, like, kind of discover or have to, like, reset as games go on. I saw a video of a guy getting grenaded from another floor.
Oh, no.
You know, some things like that were going on. But it is true. You were going to watch the best of the best. I mean, these guys are very good at Call of Duty, and they can kill people like insanely.
Yeah, and it's not like a guy rounds the corner and it's like boom, boom, boom. You know, a drawn out gunfight like in a movie. It's like he barely pokes his head out and he's dead. Like he barely it's over like that. So I don't know. Like I said, it's one of the fastest esport games out there, and how are they going to present that? You're right with the game mode that they're picking. They said that when I was talking to the Røkkr that they actually had a dry erase board and they're plotting out strategies on that, just like you would like a basketball, play that you're orchestrating. So there will be set plays they're running, and maybe viewers can start latching onto something like that.
Yeah, and you can definitely see like when someone makes a great play, like when someone jumps into like a room and takes out 4 pros, like in an instant, like jumps in the room and just like goes to town. You're like, that was impressive. Or, a lot of things like you're down 5-1, you're the last player, and you take out all the other 5 guys and win the match. Those kind of things are really great and a lot of fun. So I'm hoping we get some fantastic plays this weekend.
And I think Quake is another game that's done it really well.
Yeah.
Where it's just 1v1, just the people flying around the levels. That's easy to follow, but when you have so many people, 5v5, everybody kind of running, snaking through an environment, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the good news is they got a lot of money invested in this now. They have a lot of things in place, and that means that they're going to have to conquer these problems. Right? These problems of camera angles and finding other ways to do things, they're going to have to make sure they incorporate them in the design. I'm still a big believer that that they need a single multiplayer platform that everyone can play every year and have less resets. But that's probably not happening anytime soon in Call of Duty. Well, thank you all. That was a lot of fun to talk about those games. I'm excited about Doom. That's going to be a good one. I heard people.
And it's super close. 2 months away.
Close. And I heard people like, and I know it's actually a little bit silly, but I heard people going like, this is like a game of the year contender. I mean, I saw that on Twitter from a lot of people that played it. I think that's a little over the top from 3 hours of play, but I mean, gets me excited.
Yeah.
It certainly does get me excited. And the 2016 game is a masterpiece in its own right in the way that it kind of redefined the way you could play a first-person shooter. And I'm excited to see where they take it. So thank you all for coming on the panel.
You bet. Yeah, for sure.
And next up, we're going to have Leo and Jeff Cork join us as we talk about some news and do some community emails. It's going to be a lot of fun. So come right back. Hello, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I am your host, Andy McNamara, and I just scared most of you, hopefully, back into reality. And this is this part of the Game Informer Show. I am joined by new guests, new people. A new challenger has arrived. So Ben Reeves returns. How you doing, Ben?
Ben Reeves.
Jeff Cork.
Hello.
How you doing, Jeff?
Great.
Excellent.
So well.
Excellent. And Leo Vader.
Jeff Cork.
Yeah. Yes. Wait, now everyone's confused. Are you Jeff Cork?
Yeah. I'm just a fan.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. And in the booth, in the box, is Alex Stadnick. How you doing, Alex?
You said booth. You slipped up there.
I'm saying both now because apparently I annoy people.
Oh.
And so many people have gone out of their way to send me like direct messages and emails that are like, Andy, I don't like the way you pronounce this or say this or reference this.
Such as?
The word box?
Apparently, oh God, it's just, it's tiring because, I've got flaws, right? I know everyone thinks I'm perfect, but I screw some things up. I say some things the wrong way, and I pronounce things my own way. Like, I'm from Texas originally, which gave me a southern accent, and then I moved to Minnesota, and that screwed me up. And now I'm doomed for life to have some things that I just don't say right. They don't like the way I say Pokemon was the most recent. They're like, it's Pokemon. Like, I can't believe you say it with the E. Please stop. I can't listen to the show. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I say Pokemon.
Wolfenstein makes more sense, Andy.
And people get annoyed by that.
Telltale?
Telltale, Slam Dunk, Hearthstone.
I don't know.
We pay attention, Andy.
Let's just keep piling it on. What else is bad about him?
I mean,
that's all I got.
How does he look? What do you think about his outfit?
Great today.
You know what? I don't care. You can mock me as much as you want. You can say that they don't like the way I say. They don't like the way I say Miss Croft's name. It's Laura.
Laura. I was like,
gotcha.
what?
Laura.
Yeah.
And so whatever. I don't care. So, but I get a lot of grief for that. So I get a lot of
In your defense, most of this is just made up words. So it's not like it really matters, right?
All words
Everything
are made
made
up,
up,
really.
yeah.
Oh, wow, that's really cool to think about. This is good dorm chat.
Really heavy, huh?
Right. How come I can join the army, but I'm not old enough to drink a beer, right,
Hey,
guys? Huh, what?
Pass the weed.
Very cool. This is good.
So we're definitely sticking to the subjects here. So we're going to talk about some quick news. I've just kind of added just some topical things to the show. So last week, right as we recorded the show on Wednesday, we wake up Thursday morning as we're getting the show ready, and they're like, Cyberpunk delayed. And we were like, no, because we talked about game delays last week. And we were like, I don't think Cyberpunk's going to be delayed.
There's no way.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
you
of
guys
course,
did not think that was coming.
Well, the thing is, for years, by the way, when they first announced it, I'm like, there's no way they make that date.
Right.
And so I spent all the time, I'd go talk to all my friends in the industry. I'd be like, all right, Cyberpunk's delayed. Right, this is delayed. No, there's no way. It's got to be delayed. It's got to be delayed. It's got to be delayed. There's no way this game is not delayed. No way it's not delayed. And then I go to the Game Awards, and they do that trailer, and they show that one more time, the date, and I was like, it's so close.
Yeah.
I guess I'm finally going to believe. I got tricked.
Yep.
Yep.
And so then at that point, I was like, I guess it's really going to happen. And then we got to be mid-January. I was like, I mean, they have to know. I mean, like, it's a game that big. 3 months out, you have to know that it's going to either make that date or not make that date. And I mean that back in December, right? Like, you have to know if it's close or not close. It's such a big game. And then they announced it, and I was like, that's fine. I'm glad, but I can't believe I got tricked. I
Now
feel
you
like
have
I
to
got
get
tricked.
a cover-up tattoo now.
Yeah, I know.
It's embarrassing.
I
is
wanted
really
to believe it
embarrassing.
was going to be April. That was the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think
I
we all
definitely-
wanted to believe it.
I mean, I'm not take as much time as you need, but yeah, I wanted to play it in
Well.
April.
It would have been...
No, if they need 10 more years, take it. I'm serious.
Well, the joke being that no game is ever done, right? Like in the eyes of the developers. I mean, they could work on them forever, that you eventually have to kick something out the door.
Yeah.
Like
but,
children.
But yeah, I think everyone was looking forward to like a summer of Cyberpunk a little bit. I think
Yeah.
there was definitely some of that, like that you would have that much time to like drink up the game when it moves back to September, which I assume, obviously gets it closer to the new platforms and everything like that. But that's also when you have so many games and you're just like I want to give more time to that game.
Right.
And it just there's going to be a lot of traffic, let's say, in the last half of the year.
Do you
Yeah,
think
for
we're?
sure.
Oh, sorry, Leo.
I was just going to say, I think people are hoping for a summer of anything, but everything is pushed back now.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
Just Animal Crossing this summer, I guess.
Yeah,
Doom.
And Doom.
And Doom.
And Dying Light 2 got delayed as well, which was just to an indefinite time, which is fine. But Dying Light 2 was something people were really excited about. And much talked about at E3 last year.
Were they saying, why are they showing this demo again?
Yeah.
The same one.
Yeah. Well, there's that.
It seems like to me, and I could be wrong, it seems like the delays are like even more insane than they've been in the past. Do you think it's just because devs want to hit like next gen with their stuff? Like, do you think that's the onus for these, or do you think they're just not polished and not ready yet?
Cyberpunk, in their statement, they said, like, we want this to be our swan song for the generation, which is kind of a little hint that come September, the next generation won't be out, right? Like, that's kind of confirmation that the release date is after that, because we don't know when next
Yeah, we
gen's
don't
coming,
know.
but they probably do, right?
Yeah.
I think they have a general idea. I mean, I think in the past, it's been in November and like December. Like, I think it has been past September when they have launched. So I think you're right. And I think they are kind of pulling. I feel like CD Projekt's done a good job of studying Rockstar moves, which Rockstar loves that move of like putting something out on the old platform and having everybody play it and then doing a remastered version that looks better that's on the newer platforms.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, by the way. There's a lot of things in motion right now, especially with digital stores, like that you could buy it and then it would work on both platforms. I mean, we don't know if those things are going to happen or become part of the ecosystem. There's a ton of questions that are out there, right? I do think it says that a lot of games are being delayed because making games is hard. One, right? And then two, I do think the next generation releases had an effect, right? Don't you guys agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Feels
feel
like
like
there's
guys.
more games. There were more games slated for this first half of this year too, so that's just more opportunities for things to push.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I did love the joke though when they pushed it back that like on Tuesday or whatever, Avengers like, we have till September. We have all the time in the world for the new Marvel game, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, on Thursday, like all of a sudden, Cyberpunk is sitting at, in your window. That's
That's exactly the scenario we did not want.
yeah.
Hey, let's get out of the way of Cyberpunk, guys.
We'll see ourselves out.
They're following us.
that's the thing too. Remake is still in April, right? So that one got delayed, but not as
Final
far.
Fantasy?
Yeah, Final Fantasy. So that's good, and there'll be other games, and I'm sure there's stuff coming, and there's so many games coming out all the time. Even though we joke there's no games, I open something up and I'm like, oh, I want to play that. Oh, I want to play that. So there's usually lots of stuff to play.
There's always a couple indie games that come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah. One of the indie games that, speaking of, that I'm kind of excited about was The Pathless. From Giant Squid, which they had on the front of the Apple Arcade, like when they first introduced Apple Arcade, a lot of art from that game. We've done a feature on that game.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that game. I haven't heard anything about that game in forever, so it's not really officially delayed because it's not. I don't think it had a date ever, but it's been talked about a lot, and I'm kind of waiting for it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Giant Squid. I don't know, Abzu, anyone?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
they're an ex-Journey guy that did Abzu. Okay, yeah.
Which I liked. Not everyone loved it.
I
but
liked Abzu.
I liked Abzu a lot.
Yeah,
was
So
fun.
I'm excited about the Pathless, and so that's one that's not officially delayed. But where are you, Pathless? Where are you? I'm looking for you. Oh, all right.
Please.
Another thing that happened, which you guys don't care about, I'm just going to throw out real quick, was that YouTube TV is now on PS4.
Oh, I don't care about this.
Yeah, which I'm a YouTube TV subscriber. I cut the cord. Have you guys cut the cable? Are you guys part of cable? Are you on the? Do you watch TV at all?
I actually
I
never
watch
had a cord
TV.
to cut.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay, I'll just out myself here. What is YouTube TV?
Oh, okay. It's basically they're like. I'll explain. The reason I have it is that I like sports. That's one of the few TV things I like watching local sports. And a lot of the packages for like digital packages, you couldn't get local channels, or you had to pay extra for local channels. Even Comcast came to me and they're like, "We have to pay $8 for extra local channels," and I was like, "No, I do not." And so YouTube TV is basically their app or their service for $50 a month. You get like 70 channels, I think.
Okay.
In particular, you get local channels, and you get like a lot of the like local sports. So like for me, you get NBC Sports, which I like to watch the Tour de France, which happens every July, and some things like that. And so you get like local for us here in Minnesota, at least. Like you can watch the local hockey, local basketball, and it's got the main channel so you can watch the football games. So and it's got it doesn't. I don't think it has Comedy Central, but it has a lot of other channels that you might watch.
Okay.
So this
Right.
is different than YouTube Red. Is that still around?
Correct. This is basically their version of PlayStation View, which that's the big part of this news is that Sony announced that they got rid of PlayStation View, which a lot of people really liked as an option to cut the cord and have TV and have access. And they had a lot of good options as well for sports and for local content.
Yeah.
And so losing it was a big deal to a lot of people because it's cheaper. I mean, basically at $50 a month, which I think is what I pay for YouTube TV. I mean, that was way less than my Comcast bill, which was like $200. Do you know what I mean? Which was ridiculous. Now that it has an app for PlayStation 4, it just makes it easier for me to watch.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah, so it's nice. So anyone who's out there, by the way, that is I did some research on like who to like look at, and this is a while ago, but YouTube with TV was the one I found. I really liked it. It's a good option. I've enjoyed it so far. It's got a neat UI. I can watch things on my phone, wherever. Works for me. Now on my
find
PlayStation.
The most frustrating thing for me is like I am an Xfinity subscriber, and if I want the really fast internet that I have,
You have to have their cable.
I have to have their cable. If I say I don't want that, I just want the really fast internet, suddenly the technology no longer exists, and they don't know how to do it.
I know. And then like, do they want you to put your phone on them too? And you're like, I don't even have a home phone.
Yeah,
or
they
whatever.
wanted. Then they were like, we could save you money if we install like a home security. And I'm like, do I have to install it? Can I just leave it in the box and just keep the savings?
Yeah, it's ridiculous the way they kind of package things together.
Yeah.
That's why I like this as an option. It's just kind of like, if you want to be or like not ever have a cord and just have like Netflix, you know what I mean, HBO Now kind of thing. This is like I think one of those options that gets you that kind of local sports kind of thing. That said, I don't watch any of the other channels.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't use it that often, but it
Sounds good if you're really into sports, but like I don't know what the other benefits are, I guess.
Yeah,
If you're
it's-
really into cable. I mean, if you already have a cable bill, I guess you could cut that down.
Or if you're really into TV shows, do you know what I mean? Like because they are like you can go back and watch them. It's kind of like it kind of instantly DVRs most of the stuff on there. So if you're like, oh, I missed that season, I got into that show now, you can just kind of sit back and watch it. Kind of like it's a Netflix to some degree in that regard. But I don't know. And TV's like I'd rather play a video game most times, but I think it's a nice addition to like your PlayStation overall to be able to have that on there.
I have all these TVs. I should watch TV. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, you should have something on there. It's nice to watch the local news, right? Or am I weird?
I like local news.
Yeah, I mean, like it's nice to have every once in a while.
I don't know when the last time I've actually watched live TV. It's probably been like 10 years. It's really been a long time.
Even like a sporting event? Is that what they call those?
Yeah, that's what
Maybe
they're
at a
called,
friend's
yeah.
house, but yeah, not at my house. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely had it
I've
on.
accidentally watched sports a couple times. Yeah. that's
Oh
why.
gosh, that's awkward.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, it happens. Well, I mean, until individual sports just make it where you can just buy individual. I mean, that's something I've always wanted that they don't do, where it's just like,
Right.
hey, I want to watch that one game. Can I give you $5 to watch that one game? Mm-hmm. Do you know, like where they just would do more a la carte, and they're like, no, you need the home security system, and all that other stuff. You're like, no, I just want to watch that one game this weekend that I care about, right? Like I don't want to have to subscribe to 70 services that I don't want.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I just want to watch that one thing. Mm-hmm. You know, like, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
Or,
and I want someone to break into my house because I've set up elaborate traps. Like the collector. You will die.
So that was a quick one. And then the other quick news piece that I wanted to have a question about was that Half-Life Alyx, the VR game, the new Half-Life based VR game, which I think we're excited about coming out in March.
Yeah.
Valve put out that all the Half-Life games are for free on Steam right now. So you can play them all for free, which I guess most people probably played them, right?
When you say
Or their
all,
dads have played them. I wonder how many people that play games now have played those games.
Have
honestly.
played Half-Life. It's just like a legend.
We
and
just
they
think
put
about it
in.
as like, well, of course, people listen to Stone Temple Pilots. I mean, on the radio, naturally.
Stone Temple who? But what it would be is Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, episodes 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Which episode 2 is so great in my mind, at least. Plus Blue Shift, Opposing Force, and Team Fortress Classic are all available.
free,
Those are
I mean,
great.
right.
Yeah.
no, they did more expansions than just Blue Shift, right? I think there were a couple.
This was what I got off the site.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, I always think about the episodes 1 and 2, which of course the joke being, where's episode 3?
Uh-huh.
Right, which we still have not
They're
seen.
working on it, I'm sure.
So because Alyx takes place, it's prequel kind of
Such
action.
a dick move.
I know.
It's
Yeah.
like really targeted, it seems.
So Half-Life, it's a joke, right? Like every time we used to announce a cover, people would be like, Half-Life 3?
Yeah.
And I remember, by the way, I did have conversations with Valve at one point about a Half-Life 3 cover that I thought was coming, and they'd be like, let's talk soon. It was
on April 1st?
It felt like it. But I had these conversations.
Why did you tell them to stop making that?
I don't know why I did
Guys,
that.
I don't think that's going to sell.
Let's add that to the list of things that Andy
Yeah.
does poorly,
Right.
and that we hate him for. What does Half-Life mean to you guys? That's my question. I think overall, like, what does that game mean to you? What does it mean to you as a player? Do you not care? Is this important? I mean, like, to a lot of people, it's kind of like a defining game that defines gamedom.
Yeah.
Right?
I love Half-Life. Yeah, it's one of my favorite series. But it is interesting because I haven't played a Half-Life in like over 10 years.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a good opportunity to go back and be like, remind myself, like, yeah, is it as good as I remember? Because in my mind, it's like this pinnacle of like first-person shooting. But that genre has evolved so much. Like, it probably feels dated now.
Yeah, I would imagine with things like Dishonored and Prey and all these other games that have done that type of game.
Yeah.
You know, even Control, that I think have moved forward.
Yeah.
That kind of world and world building that it's got to feel a little dated.
Right.
I feel like it has to.
Why
Right.
isn't my guy talking?
Yeah.
At the same time, though, it was like, especially the first Half-Life was the first game, I don't want to say the first ever, but like it was one of the first for sure that made story important to shooters. Because before that, it was like running down a hallway, shooting things, turn, shoot more things. It was all very like action based. And
Like Doom.
Half-Life, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Half-Life introduced sort of quieter moments where you're exploring an area.
Talking to scientists.
You're talking to
Yeah.
people. Yeah, which I really liked. Like, that was cool. Like, hey, this story, I don't know if the first game's story was that interesting, but for the time, it was like, it felt significant. I was like, this has a real story that I'm into.
And made locations matter. You're like, oh, I'm at this place that we've been talking about, and then I've been trying to get to. That it created those moments.
Yeah.
You know, like even like riding in vehicles and being in places and head crabs, things like that. How about you guys? What does it
Yeah,
mean to you?
I think I'm with Reeves, where it was a really important game, and I really enjoyed like the series. But it's been so long. I wonder if it's like one of those things where it's like it's more important than fun at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I know what you mean.
I don't know that I want to go back to it just because I have such fond memories of it.
I worry about that too. Like I'm always like, I should go
tough.
back and play it, and I'm like, will I not like it as
Yeah.
much anymore? And I also wonder too, I feel like they've never made Half-Life 3 because even the development team and Valve itself has it's built this thing where like it has to be innovative, it has to be the next greatest thing, it has to redefine gaming. It's like all of a sudden on the whiteboard, which is a ridiculous request.
Yeah.
Like I can understand how you'd be like, I can never make this game. Like when you
Yeah.
put out like what's expected of it, how hard it would be to meet those goals.
Yeah, you're like paralyzed by your own success, but you know who gets over that fairly regularly is Rockstar. I mean, like they have these towering achievements that they've made. You know, whether or not you like their games, you can't ignore the fact how influential and important they are. And they get over themselves and like put their heads down and create a game. But they also don't have a digital platform.
That sort of thing is like, I think Steam kind of not killed Valve, but they killed their like game development in a lot of ways, because they had this like thing that was making a ton of money. It's like they didn't need to make games anymore.
I mean, they literally came out the other day and said Left 4 Dead is not in the works, which crushed a lot a lot of people that want the next Left 4 Dead.
That felt like a
from them.
Personal attack to me.
Yeah, see, there you go. And like, I mean, we've obviously all wanted another Portal.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's disheartening at times, but that's a great point about Rockstar. And the other thing too is like, you know what? If it takes you making a bad Half-Life game to get back on track to make a good Half-Life game,
Exactly.
make a bad one. I don't care. Just make one. Just
I bet
do
Half-Life
something.
2
Make
is a
it.
bad Half-Life game now.
Yeah, make it. Right? You know,
break the seal.
They did have that thing, F-Stop, that F-Stop demo came out a couple of weeks ago. Like, that was kind of interesting to see, because that was like the prototype for Portal 2. They called it F-Stop. And it looked similar to that Superliminal game.
Oh,
where you were
okay,
like capturing things and you could shrink or grow them, which is kind of a cool idea.
I didn't see that. I didn't check that out, so you thought it was cool.
It was cool in concept. I mean, I don't think it was much of a game yet. It was kind of a prototype of an idea.
Huh, interesting. Leo, do you care?
Yeah, it's never really resonated with me. I would like, if I could go back and just like play with the gravity gun, I would. But besides that, I feel like the in-between shooting never hit me that hard, especially with, like we were talking about, more modern shooters versus something like a Portal, which I could go back to any day because nobody else is doing Portal.
Yeah.
Can I say something really stupid and
Yes,
terrible?
we love that.
I'd rather have a new Portal than a new Half-Life.
Here.
I don't think you're alone in that take.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'd rather have Left 4 Dead 3 than the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I miss that game so much.
Yeah, I mean,
It still exists, actually.
It does. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
With mods.
Yeah.
I mean, if only they were making money somehow at Valve to be able to bring in some developers and create some games. I mean, things are tough over there.
Maybe they could hire some
understand.
indie developers, bring them on. Some guys who are making some good games.
Yeah.
Like, who's the guys
Valley-
who did Firewatch? That was a great game.
That was a great game. And by the way, I rewatched the video for the Valley of the Gods or whatever it is today. I still want that game, and that game's probably so dead. It's never happening.
That's such a bummer.
It's very sad, because I thought that game looked really cool.
Yeah.
Well, in a few decades, all those will be in the public domain, right? So someone can make a Half-Life game.
Yeah, I don't know. Disney will keep moving out
Left 4
public
Dead.
domain until
Nothing will ever enter public domain.
Yeah, it's like you're not going to get a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is interesting, and I do wonder, because it's been so long since Half-Life was truly a part of like there's new people playing games that it doesn't mean anything to them. So I think that's interesting. I think Alex will tell a lot, but also not tell a
usually
lot
do.
because it's going to be on VR, and I wasn't talking about you, Alex.
I know.
But I mean, like, I think the VR thing is going to make the data spoiled. Do you know what I mean? Like how people are interested or not interested in it, right? Because it is a VR-only title. Like I think we have a clearer picture of how beloved now, not in the past, Half-Life is if it was on a platform everyone could get to.
Do you think if they had just called it Half-Life 3, then it would just be Dunzo on VR?
Do you think everyone would go buy it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. I think I love VR, and I still love the way that it's going and what it can do. It just has so many technological hurdles that it needs to get through still in my mind before it's just something that everybody needs to have. I love that we're supporting it. I love that devs are out there making innovative and great things in there. And I see a lot of games that are selling. I saw another game the other day that was like, we sold 1 million units in VR. And I'm like, that's awesome. Right? And it keeps happening. There's a lot of great success stories going on in VR. And I had one of my friend developers talk to me about it, and I thought it was really interesting that like I could make a cool mobile game that if it didn't get the marketing and like the push from Apple, it would never sell 1 million units for me because the marketplace is so full, right? Arcade changes that a little bit, but they were like, I'm making a VR game because I have a chance to sell 1 million. Do you know what I mean? Because there's an opportunity here where if I make a good game, that it goes out there and people look at it and it matters, they can buy it, and I can appease those people that like, not appease, but like, there's a market that people want those games. It's not as big as PlayStation 5, right? But I mean that it's out there and it's growing, and there's people playing games and they're really loving what's happening in that space and innovation. So you have an opportunity for success by making something good because it's a smaller market.
Like people can find it just by saying sort by A through Z.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's an interesting thing for VR, but it has a way to go. It can't just be like Half-Life 3 and be like a million, or 100 million units.
Oh, there
right?
goes that
Right?
plan, Leo.
Don't you think? Or am I wrong? Or do you think it could
I
be?
genuinely don't know. I just wonder if it would be like if we are like because Alex being a prequel and everything, it's a different deal. But if they had announced we are making Half-Life 3 the continuation of the series that everyone has been looking forward to, incidentally, the only way you'll be able to experience it is in VR. But
think-
this is like a full experience.
I think they're going to get 90% of that poll anyway, just
Yeah.
the fact that it's a new Half-Life game.
Yeah,
And I wonder how bad the pushback would be if it was a Half-Life 3 behind a $1,000 paywall.
we would never know because no one would complain about it.
Yeah,
in a way that we would hear.
They should, I mean, you said something similar. It was like they should just make something called and actually call it Bad Half-Life. And then,
Bad
and it doesn't
Half-Life.
matter if it's kind of janky. People are like, well, they said it was bad
Yeah.
and it still sells because it's
Yeah.
Half-Life. And then
Yeah.
anything you make after that will be judged against the bad one. And so it'll
Half-Life
look
Match
good.
3.
Yeah.
Marketing genius. Marketing
Valve, let me know
genius.
if you want to talk contracts.
So that leads me to my first question from the community this week. So, hello, GI crew. Going into next generation, is there any marketing practices you would love to see just go away? I would be very happy to never see an announcement of an announcement ever again. My runner-up is days-long Twitch streams where nothing happens for 90% of the runtime. Thanks, Kevin from West Hartford, Connecticut. So hopefully, did I pronounce Kevin right? I hope so. I like this comment / question, which is like, game announcements. What do you guys think? I mean, like, what's annoying? What annoys you when games are announced or how they're announced? And what are good examples of how games are announced or shown?
This is like riffing off of presumably the announcement of an announcement, like any kind of countdown.
Like when when they put a count up for 24 hours, it's doing the like.
Which is also probably like the live stream is also very similar to that.
Yeah.
But I immediately resent that.
Do you? It makes you mad.
Here's these interesting like symbols. What do those symbols mean? They could mean
It's
something.
part of
Investigate them.
Like was it Warner Montreal has been doing like the symbols for some kind of
Yeah, the new Batman game.
Court of
thing.
Owls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 It's just like I don't know. I don't want to participate in your ARG. Just tell me when you've got a game. I don't know.
The best kind of announcement was for God of War with the new one when they debuted that. It was like this trailer. It's like, oh, what is this? It kind of looks. It looks like they're Viking times or something. There's a kid, and then Kratos steps into the frame, and everybody cheers. And oh my gosh, it's a new! And then they showed off the game.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. Like anytime you start off a demo and you're like, what is this? I'm not quite sure what this is, and then you reveal what it is, and it's something you want. Like
So
I
that's
think
good
that's
marketing,
a really
a
cool,
good trailer.
good trailers.
But I mean, trailer that had
good
gameplay
demos.
in it.
Yeah.
It had gameplay in it.
Yes.
And it would like transition to you like,
Yeah.
what is going on, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was I think you're right. That was a very impactful way to show the game for the first time and controlled, which I get. I should be clear. I understand that games are always in progress and there's things that don't work and you have to find a controlled way to show it to people and get them excited about it. Because like everything, it's not like it's like you finish one level and you're like, oh, that level's done, and you just move on. Like all the tools, all the things that are still being worked on, lighting, art, everything like that, make it work. Showing games can be difficult, and making a demo can take a lot of time out of the game that you're making. By the way, I'm talking a little bit like I'm doing all the developer kind of like asterisks, but people should know that. They should know that that's part of it. But you're right, that was a great demo, and I do hate the countdowns. My thing. I don't mind. I excuse the countdown if what they show at the end of the countdown is not bad.
Yeah.
If the countdown goes down and at the end they're like 2020 title,
Yep.
I'm like, I hate you. You wasted
Yes.
so much of my time and the internet just like discussing it and me thinking about it and thinking you were going to do something cool and then you didn't do something cool. I hate you.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Like when Bethesda announced the existence of two projects.
Starfield?
Yeah, Starfield and the new Elder Scrolls with like logos. Or we didn't even get that, did we?
We did get
We got
logos.
logos.
Yeah, we got
Yes,
logos. Yeah. Those were like, they're like, and one more thing. And you're like, one more thing. And they were like, 2 logos.
Yeah.
Part of
Yeah.
a thing.
Which is weird because they were also the studio that said Half-Life 4 and it's coming in 4 months. It's a weird
Half-Life 4?
juxtaposition. Or
Fallout
Half-Life 4.
That
Fallout
was
4.
surprising when they announced Half-Life 4.
Half-Life 4. Yeah.
We were going to do
saw
that.
that coming.
We never saw 3.
Yeah.
Spoilers for E3 this year. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of those things too. I don't like it when they do them for the no does. Do you know what I mean? Like I saw, what was it? I think it was like 4 or 5 months ago. There was a bunch of rumors like Rockstar's working on Grand Theft Auto 6. No kidding.
Duh.
Yeah, I mean, like, wow, scoop, right? You know what I mean? Like, those kind of things are just those annoy me, right? Like when those show up as rumors, but that's more on us. That's not on like a marketing reveal, but that does happen.
Well, that's what the Batman thing feels like to me. Is like they're kind of teasing something, and you're like, well, I'm not surprised you're making a new Batman game, and everybody loves those games. Like it makes sense that it's Montreal. Like it's not exciting until you show us why it's exciting. Like come out and show us like the game a little bit, and then we'll be excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it's not building up hype. It's just teasing.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Which is definitely annoying.
And there's so much content out there on the internet in the airwaves that is just like it's easy to get for that stuff to get washed away. So I don't even know why you bother personally, but
Yeah. What do you think about
why
like?
do you even bother?
Well, Leo, do you have any examples?
I mean, does like different pre-order versions where you pay to play it early, does that count as marketing?
Yes.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that because it hits me where I live.
Yeah.
If I can play
Yeah.
something on a Friday before it releases on a Tuesday, I'm gonna pay the extra like $30.
I like
And
looking
they
at
know
a
that.
chart to see what version gets me what. That's always really fun when they release that marketing beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that stuff to go away. I hate those like timed exclusives, which EA does. Which that's why people get so mad at EA. And I think I actually would have guessed, Leo, that you would not pay the extra $30 for 3 extra days. I thought you would be
Out of
like
principle?
no. Yeah, I thought you would be principled on that. But you're willing to pay that $30 to get the 3 days.
Depends on the game for sure, but lots of times, specifically that Tuesday to Friday, that's a big difference.
That
Like,
is a
I
big
can play it
difference.
this weekend, or I can basically wait to play it next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. No, it's fair. It's fair. I mean, that's a tough choice. And I also agree with when you're like, wait, I'm buying it. It gives me, what does it give me? And I also hate like when they're unclear like what you get with like, they're like, it's the special super expert edition. You're like, well, what's in that? I don't understand.
You get the gunslinger pants, and that doesn't help me.
Yeah,
What does that mean?
And they always make it look really cool too. Is that you get this art book and it looks super thick and like a giant, and then you get it and it's like the size
4
of your
pages.
hand.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what?
It fits in the regular size Blu-ray box.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff is all really, really, really annoying. Alex.
I missed the arm tattoo, the Peter Moore arm tattoo, how you'd reveal games. I wish that would come back.
Yeah.
game.
I do. Speaking of EA, I dislike the dev diary style of announcing games. I think they did that with Star Wars. Not 1313, but the Amy Hennig Star Wars game, where it was like, here's all of our developers working on this, and you get like a little bit of concept art or someone doing like the T-pose in the background. You know what I mean? And that's supposed to be their like trailer for that game.
Like as part of a press conference when they do that stuff. Yeah, that always feels like filler for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, EA, that one particular press conference for them where they showed 25 minutes of Star Wars games with, like you said, one character render and a screenshot.
Yeah.
Was like, you're wasting my time.
No offense to these great developers working really hard on their games.
Or
Yeah,
Dash
exactly. Yeah, I mean, they
Or Dash Rendar.
don't necessarily decide that stuff, by the way. That's just,
course.
and I get it that EA needed to show that they were doing something to Star Wars. Like, I mean, there's things happening, but you could have done it in a more respectable way, right? Or that would have been more respectable of our time.
Yeah.
right?
A lot of it just feels like they're punting. Like they clearly don't have anything to talk about. They want to be part of the conversation. So they're just sidling up to people that are in the middle of a conversation with their drink saying, hey guys, what's up? Everyone turns to look at him and then just a big nod and then backing away.
Don't forget about Court of Owls. All right, we'll be back in 3 months.
So what about, do you have any examples that you like? They're positive?
Good marketing?
Man,
Yeah,
anytime
well,
I go,
I guess, okay,
go
fair
out to
enough.
my mailbox, open it up, I see the new Game Informer cover and what the new game on the announcement. Oh my gosh, I get so excited.
Yeah.
That's the best way to announce a game, I think. Right? Right?
Thank you for
Right,
that
everybody?
plug.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. Good plug. But we know what's on the Game Informer cover
That's
before
true.
it comes. That's
I get
that's the
excited
thing.
still. I'm a sucker for that.
I do get excited to see the art like printed out. I love holding it in my hand. That's my thing. But I like magazines, right? And that's definitely a thing for me. But yes, all games should be announced on Game Informer covers. All the
Yeah.
good ones.
That's what I'm saying.
We all need a
all the
bigger
good
cover.
ones.
We only need 12 games a year then.
Yeah,
Or less, actually.
So I would say, do you guys think about like these kind of like shorter? Do you like it when they do like 4 months or 6 months, like announce the game, like you mentioned with Fallout, where it's like here's the game and then it comes out very shortly after? Or do you like this kind of? I mean, I'm not making fun of Cyberpunk, but like here's the game and you're going to hear about it for the next 3 years while we finish it until it comes out. Which do you like, or do you like both? A mix?
I like the shorter window for
You
sure.
you like an Apex Legends?
Yeah.
kind of thing.
They don't have to be that short, but that's
Yeah.
fun when that happens.
Yeah.
That's always a treat.
And I was at Lane E3 and they're like, hey, we're announcing this game and it's available now.
Every
And
game they
everyone
ever
takes their
announced-
headphones.
Yeah.
I gotta play this now.
Every announcement at E3, I'm praying it says available now at the end.
Yeah,
I
love
do
that.
like that one. It's
Yeah.
less than a year out. Like that's, I think, a pretty good sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think back to, what was it, BioShock Infinite, which was like, I don't even think this is an exaggeration. I think it was like 5 or 6 years before that game finally came out,
Yeah.
between announcement and like release.
Yeah.
But it's fun to be hyped for something.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
feeling
then-
good for a while.
But you get to the point where it's like they've got a piece of desktop wallpaper that they just unblur like a tiny square at a time. You're like, you're stretching this out for a month, aren't you?
Well, that's how I feel about, you mentioned Bethesda, the new Oblivion game, or Elder Scrolls game, whatever it's going to be. And I'm like, I want to get excited for that game, but I know it's so far out. Like, I shouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't even show me until, like, there's a reason for me to get excited. Like,
That's
Yeah.
for them more than it is for
Exactly,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. Or for stock market.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like a business, basically a business
Yeah.
goal.
But they're
So they
playing
can
with
say
my
more
heart.
stuff happen.
These guys are making games. We should buy it.
So the next question is, I was listening to last week's episode, or maybe 2 weeks ago. Who knows? I'm lost in time too, as well. Our friend James from Scotland. But I heard you guys talking about the Sony skipping E3 is a good thing for them and how they can control the message, avoid giant enemy crabs, etc. Which basically we talked about on last week's show about how, we'd love for everybody to be at E3 and for E3 to be a big brawl, but we understand why certain companies are like, it's not important for them or for what their goals are. And I think we don't know who E3 is for anymore is a very real question, right? So just to kind of finish that up. But I don't think enough people talk about how Sony skipping E3 makes them feel. So with that in mind, I want to know what are some of your all-time favorite E3 press conference moments? So what are your favorite moments from E3 that we may have lost now? Or that maybe, what does the future of E3 hold? We don't know, but let's reminisce
think
about the good times.
One that we absolutely have lost just because they've gone to the direct format is Nintendo. Oh, God, one of my favorite things was that one press conference they had that had Wii Music, and then it had like
Robbie Drums.
Robbie Drums.
Robbie Drums, and then like I think that was the same one. Was it where Cammy introduced Shaun White, who was behind that tube, or inside the tube? It was like I just remember sitting with Nick Aarons in the audience, turning to each other the whole time. They're like, "Can you believe this? This is happening.
Man.
This is so bad and weird." It was the best.
If there's
It was
any
so
press
fun.
conference to be at in real life, I feel like that's one of them.
It was so fun.
The Nintendo ones were definitely fun. I like the Zelda crying. Like anytime a Zelda game was announced, someone in the crowd would start crying.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. Was it the same year? The one I thought of was when they announced Twilight Princess. Right, like
Yeah.
Miyamoto came out and he had the shield and the
sword,
sword, and it was only
Yeah, that
that
was
little
earlier.
clip, and everyone's like, "Adult Link,
Yeah.
yay!" And like everyone freaked out, literally freaked out. I mean everyone went crazy, and
It
it was
set fire.
It was like 15 seconds,
Yeah.
and it wasn't really what the game ended up looking like.
No.
No.
But the bad marketing, whatever. There's a little crossover there.
Yeah.
Any other best moments? You mentioned Peter Moore tattoo.
Yeah.
I thought was really funny. The Halo
Yeah, I liked
tattoo.
those.
That was funny. That's a moment you only get from an E3.
He's always fun to watch on stage.
Yeah, he's
and
a
a
good stage.
charisma to him, which
Yeah,
is fun. This is not to
definitely.
harp on Nintendo too much, but when they first started doing the directs at E3, they would be pretty fun with them. Like I remember the year they did the puppets, which
Oh,
I
the
thought
Star
was like
Fox
super
puppets?
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like I wish they were still that fun. I feel like the last couple of years haven't been as bonkers, but I think you can still have some pageantry to it, even if they're pre-recorded.
Yeah. And that's what I miss about Sony leaving is they really they all did up the show, but Sony especially. And I think my answer is their 2016 conference when it was God of War, it was Spider-Man, it was just it was hit after hit. Was
Death
that
Stranding was there. I
Stranding,
mean,
yeah.
they did. Days Gone was announced there. It was a lot of.
It was just this fever
Huge
pitch,
hit.
and it just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. And I'm usually an Xbox guy, but I was like, man, they blew this out of the water. Especially Ben was talking about it earlier, the orchestral score leading up to the God of War reveal. I still get chills thinking about that one.
Yeah, that was a good reveal. Was that the same year they announced Shenmue?
It was the
think
final.
so.
They did Final Fantasy and Shenmue
Final
Final
back to
Fantasy, the
back.
same year. That was a good year as well.
Yeah.
Was it? I couldn't remember.
Kickstarter.
I do. The one that I thought was big was the Final Fantasy remake announcement at the
Yeah.
press conference because people the screaming and yell. People lost their mind. Like I remember being in the crowd going like, what is going on? Like who here is having like a conniption over this thing? I mean, they went nuts over remake.
Yeah, and these people have been burned before by a Final Fantasy VII announcement that's like, on mobile.
And they went crazy. But I think my favorite moment of E3 is always when they show the new Forza car.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's really, it's every year I say to myself, when are they going to show the car, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right?
I bet that thing is so fast when it's driving.
I hope it spins on a platform.
Oh, yeah.
I know that I'm going to drain my battery completely taking video of it on the show floor.
Yeah. I mean, that's the moment. That is the biggest moment.
Last year they did the Lego car, which I feel like they kind of like understood it's a
They
joke
understand
at
the
this
joke,
point.
I know.
And so it's like I don't know where they go at this point.
No,
I
I
feel
don't
like
like
they
it.
need to retire
I hope
the
they
bit.
go with not doing a car. I hope they get it. I hope that was a funny last one.
Yeah.
Let's be done.
Because they've never had a big error, like no one has leaned up against the car and like a rivet from their jeans has scratched it, or like it hasn't like gotten out of park and like rolled off the stage. Nothing funny has happened with it. It's just like, huh? And then polite applause. Yeah, okay.
We like the Forza games.
Four wheels, doors. Yep.
Just show the game. We don't need to see a car.
Yeah.
We don't need to see a car.
Do you guys
we hate
remember?
cars.
Do you guys remember the Peggle 2 announcement?
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
that's one of my favorite goofy moments where he like announced it and did like the Superman like coming down, hitting the ground, and then just ran off the stage.
I don't remember that.
Just kind of melted.
Look up Peggle 2 announcement. It's wonderful.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Peggle's back, by the way. Everyone's playing it. You got to get in on this Peggle thing, everybody.
miss
And they got to make a
PopCap.
new one.
So I wrote down a couple other notes. So I actually really laughed when they had that Kevin, the marketing guy. Remember Kevin?
Kevin Butler.
Kevin Butler, when he came out on stage and talked for like 5 minutes at that PlayStation one. I don't know why. It made me laugh. He was just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was a funny one for me.
I was at, again, this is when Nick Aarons was here, and he was my partner in crime. I loved him so much, and still do. We were like behind the screen doing like writing this stuff up. And so the Sweet Tooth van, I think that was the same one, came on stage, and it was blowing the exhaust from it right in our faces. Like we were directly on the other side. If we'd taken a knife, we could have like come through gasping for air, and everyone would have seen us. But yeah, that thing was very stinky.
Yeah. That's a good memory. That's a good memory. You don't get that. There's no E3.
Yeah.
And
And
then
that's a cool car on stage.
It was the coolest.
I also thought two kind of important moments. Well, there's a couple moments I think when they did the used game sharing thing, where they did the like step one and they just handed when it was like Shu and Adam just passed that thing. That was pretty funny.
It was brutal.
that was really funny.
Was that part of a press conference?
Yes.
Like they presented that?
Yes,
That was after
yeah, it was
hilarious.
part of that. That was really funny. Also, my favorite E3 moment that will always be my favorite E3 moment was Engage, when they announced the Engage at this press conference that was not. It was like during the E3 timeframe, but off-site. It was the weirdest thing. They had like people, they had like dancers, and they were dancing on stage. And then at the very, very end, one of the female dancers like lifts up her shirt, and you're like, "What is going on?" And she has the price listed on her on her stomach.
Yeah. Mhm.
And because I can't remember if it was like $3.99, $4.99, $2.99, whatever it was for the Engage, but because of her belly button, it looked like $2.99. Right? Yeah. So like from afar, that's what it looked like. So you're like, dance moves, shirt ripped up, $2.99. I was like, this is the weirdest moment in all time. Like Reiner and I, we were dying and dying. And I mean, that's just obviously the future of side talking was defined at that moment. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever experienced.
Can you imagine if she lifted her shirt and just smeared the...
It was just like, what is that? Yeah.
It's an elephant? What is that? Yeah.
But that one's etched in my mind. Like I will actually, I will have dreams, like nightmares kind of thing on that. And I'll like wake up and be like, oh, I'm at the Engage press conference. So that one was great.
There was one E3 where Microsoft was debuting the Kinect, I think, and like you were entering into the theater and they were handing everybody ponchos, and they're like, "Here's your interactive poncho," and you're like, "What's an interactive poncho? What is the like?" And then there was the Cirque du Soleil performance, and then they projected things onto everybody's ponchos.
Yeah, that was super weird.
I think I was with Bert's at the time, and he's like, "I'm not taking one of those." And I'm like, all right, I guess I won't take one either.
And there was like, I remember being that thing. I forgot about that because we were all standing at the bottom of this like whatever arena. I remember someone went to sleep. Like there was a person asleep on the floor in the middle of all that madness.
What?
Yeah, is that when they showed Milo too?
I think so. Yeah.
Which was so
might have
weird.
been, yeah.
The whole like Milo Connect. I mean, they really wanted us to, and I was like, I don't want anything to do. I never wanted anything to do with Connect ever. There was not a moment where I was like, "Oh, this Kinect thing's going to be cool." It was just it was a horror show.
I want
from
to
the beginning.
foster a little boy.
Yeah,
digitally.
Don't say that out loud.
Not like that.
All right, let's move on. This one actually had two different questions, so I'm not going to read the whole question. That was very nice, but this one in particular was from a guy named John in Shorewood, Illinois. But basically, what he's trying to get to is that, like, okay, obviously our work is playing games, right? So people in the real world, their lives working get in the way of their playing games. It's a very real thing, right? It's really hard. Like all these games I want to play, but like I have kids, I have like work, like. And by the way, you should do real world things. By the way, games should never ruin your lives, right? I think, but I think they're interested in us because our jobs is playing games. Like, how does our work get in the way of us playing games we want to play, right? Like, how much time do we spend playing games for work versus playing games for like leisure? So, Could you? How about this? How much time do you guys play games a week? How many hours do you think you play games a week?
Counting work hours and
Yeah, just games in just general.
Probably
Mobile?
25, 30.
Mobile games count?
Yeah,
All right.
I was gonna say 20.
it's a game, right?
I'd say
Yeah.
around 15 to 20.
Yeah.
15 to 20 hours a week.
It's like a
Yeah.
part-time job.
25, 30 hours?
Yeah, I'm probably close to you. I play probably maybe 40.
Especially like on a weekend, if you're in a groove and...
If I'm left alone,
Yeah.
I probably play games at least 3 to 4 hours every day. And then weekends, if I get the opportunity, if there's nothing going on, I'll play like 10 hours
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
So it'll rock it if I get a good free weekend.
I felt almost embarrassed by how low my score was when I did the PlayStation Year End thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the number was. It was pretty good actually. But but I saw everybody else tweeting out theirs, and I'm like, what? That number seems insane. And then I did the calculus of like how many weeks in a year, and like some people were playing like over 40 hours a week, like regularly. And I'm like, I can do 40 in a week sometimes,
Yeah.
but like not every week.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they're doing it. It's like they don't have jobs or something. And I have a job where I play games sometimes. So
Yeah.
They're counting rest mode, probably. Like they're...
yeah.
the
Honestly,
system isn't-
maybe there's something to that.
So out of that time, how much of it is like leisure? How much of it is games you just want to play? Or do you feel like all the games you play, even for work, are like games you want to play anyway? How does that feel?
I
Like,
would say I wish.
Most of it is like on my own. Just like when I play a review game, like what is that? Maybe 1 or 2 a month at
Yeah.
most, usually. But so
Yeah.
most of the time I play.
so you say
Sometimes-
75% of your time is spent playing games you want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
I'd
doing
say.
a demo for a preview, that's maybe an hour or two. That's
Yeah.
not usually a lot. So yeah, I think most of the time it's my stuff I want to play.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get assigned a game that you wanted to play anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it crosses, you're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, you're working. But I would like to point this out. This is something I point out. I feel like if you're playing a game and you're a game journalist for leisure, you are slightly working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's all research. It's all stuff you have to know. I mean, I try to play games when we talk about games on the podcast that I haven't played and I have the opportunity. I'll sit down and play them for 5 hours so I can talk about it intelligently, right? You know what I mean? So, but I'm not mad. You know what I mean? That I played some game for work, quote unquote. It's fun to check things out and see what's going on in game space.
Yeah. Sometimes I try games that I know I wouldn't normally because I want to have a more well-rounded, set of opinions for this job. And I've found some of my favorite games that way. So for that reason, I don't really consider it work. Because lots of times I get a lot out of it. There's the occasional dud of like, this game was a waste of my time, but I just don't have to play it for that long.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
Yeah, I think that's really the thing for me is that I have discovered that on games I don't like, it's real easy for me to walk away. The problem is I like a lot of games, and that's where you get the whole backlog problem. But you know what I mean? Like, but I have definitely like, if I get into a game in 3 hours and I don't like it, it's like, okay, bye-bye.
It
See
is
ya.
interesting when you meet somebody, you tell them what you do, and they're like, wait, don't you get sick of playing games and you don't want to do them on your free time? I'm like, I don't know. Why is that? How would that be possible? Like, I don't understand. Are you kidding me? Like, this is something I really love to do. And also, I'm like, half the time probably playing games I don't want to play at work. Like that's the thing is like, there's a lot of bad games out there that you have to play. And so part of our job is playing those.
It's like, don't you get sick of music? You listen to so much music?
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
don't you get sick of drinking beer? Like, you don't.
It's like from drinking
Part
beer.
of our job is drinking beer. I don't know if I've said that enough.
At least that's what Ben says.
This is for work.
Yeah, I mean, it's playing games are fun. It's not bad when it's part of your job. to
I
some
like
degree.
it.
Yeah. What do you?
Yeah.
What do you
Gaming.
know?
Big fan.
It's for me.
So hey, GI crew, how important is it for a game to be innovative? Can a game be considered a masterpiece or win Game of the Year if it is simply a perfectly executed version of what came before? So this is a little existential. It's a little out there, but like I think Resident Evil 2 maybe remake. Do you know what I mean? Maybe comes to like the one time you can say that, because usually like I feel like if something's going to win Game of the Year, it usually is to some degree innovative in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. But even
Right?
then, I would consider the way they handled Mr. X and how he tracks you and that kind of stuff felt innovative, even though it's like, the Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, I understand, was very similar. But the way that was implemented of having him be like this physical presence that was always on the map and you're kind of waiting for him. Like, I think there's the best games, even if they are kind of rehashes like that or a known quantity, they have to do something innovative.
Do they have to do something
That's what
innovative?
I think.
I mean, like,
there's the argument is like what's new under the sun too is like even if you look at like God of War, like there's elements of like all the elements in that game you could probably point to another game. It's like, well, it did it there. Like, so it's really just like taking everything that's good and doing it really well. I think, right?
Yeah.
Rearranging the parts and doing them in a well executed fashion, right?
Which is all anything creative really is.
Yeah, to some degree. Yeah, because I think about the one example I think of that's a good one is Hollow Knight to me. Like the world and stuff like that looks cool, and maybe you could call that innovative, but I don't really think. I think it's just a great design, right? I just love the way they created the world, right, and the story they built with it. That would be new, right? But it's essentially Metroid, but it's like a huge Metroid. It goes for a really, and it's like you're like it can't be bigger. You're like it's bigger, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it keeps going and keeps going. Oh, and these powers are cool, but I mean I don't know if I ever got any power that I was like that was really super innovative, but that game is amazing. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like really, really, really great. So I don't know that innovation is not important, but I think execution might be what I think I think like sets games to that Game of the Year level, right? Don't you think?
And it's also, it seems like there's kind of, it's really difficult to talk about this stuff too, because you're kind of going on gut. But it seems like setting out to achieve something that is exceptional and hitting that mark is also important, rather than just like the execution of like, we want to make the best Guitar Hero 2 clone.
Yeah.
Now, it would be difficult, not to say you couldn't do it, it would be difficult to argue that that is Game of the Year.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely, there is, I mean, there are those moments of like true innovation, you could say, where like, yeah, maybe someone made a music game before, but it was a cultural revolution in Guitar Hero's case, right? Like where it changed the way we perceived things, right? I mean, people had been doing battle royale games before everyone in the world played Fortnite.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I mean, they were there in some way, shape, or form, but that's the one that changed the world, right? I mean, obviously, PUBG was out at that point too, which I think changed a lot as well. But it's like how they affect things, that cultural impact. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that come together, I think, to decide whether something's a Game of the Year, and I think innovation definitely plays a part of it. But it's not something you could just say on its own define something.
Yeah, you kind of know it when you see it.
Yeah.
And then there's Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah.
I love you, Jeff Cork. That was, man, I would tell you, just so people on the inside know, that was a brawl Game of the Year discussion at Game Informer. That was a tough year.
Yeah.
And I think I'm with Jeff. I don't think that was Game of the Year.
Yeah.
That particular year. But that's what we
But
awarded.
it was.
And there's people that think, and by the way, to defend, there's lots of people in this office that think it was. So don't let just Jeff and I be surly about it. But we are definitely a little annoyed.
Nothing wrong with that.
Waiting for Joe Juba to bust down the wall.
Yeah.
I talked to Joe recently about it, and I think even he was a little bit like, yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Like, I don't think he's as enthusiastic about it as he once was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're doing. But
He
they're doing
said he
another
hated
Dragon.
it.
I'm glad they're doing another Dragon Age.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I want
you know.
that series to be good again.
And there's lots of good things that happen in it. Just Game of the Year is another thing. But let's move on. We could do that for a while. Do you think? This is Mike from Maryland, by the way. Do you think that that games sell cosmetics that to support a game hinder the ability of the game to include interesting story and lore moments for people to discover? So basically, like in-game items that you purchase, is it ruining story opportunities or lore moments in a game? Items that could have interesting backstory and lore are put into stores instead of earned and learned through game mechanics. This creates a sterile environment that reminds you that you are playing a game instead of being immersed in another world. And then also, how could we remedy that to improve it? So I took Mike's question into the sense of like, if you go to a store and you can buy the Sword of Chaos, right? And you just buy it and you put it on your character and you're like, well, I've got a Sword of Chaos, right? Versus like, I had to go climb the mountain of doom, go through the fires of Hades, and at the end I found the Sword of Chaos when I defeated the great Ben Reeves.
That's right.
And like, I mean, and what a story that was, right? And like the things that happened around that, that those two things happen. And he does say that like he wants developers to be able to keep the lights on, and he thinks it's important for those to have those. But are we losing something with these cosmetics and items being purchased?
Yeah. I mean, in my latest Red Dead 2 single player, I found in kind of the bayou area in Lagras, there's like this submerged shack, and I swam around and went under it, and I found this cat skull mask, and it's this creepy, like clearly this giant cougar skull, and I put it on now whenever I fight Lemoyne Raiders in that area. And it's very fun, and it's like comparing that to a horse skin I got as a pre-order bonus in Assassin's Creed. It's like, do I have any kind of story with that at all?
Yeah, your attachment to it is just not the same.
Yeah.
It just really isn't. I mean, there's... I hate it because I buy some of those things, right? And I definitely do them. But there's something to be said and something that is earned. And I think sometimes too, and I want to bring this up as another flaw, is that sometimes too, like they forget. Like I could, like to your point, I can buy that, or I get the weird like reskinned one. Do you know what I mean by searching underneath the finding it in the world? And that makes me angry that they're the same. Right, like I always like it when like a thing that I can find in game has its own value and has its own personality. That makes it a little bit easier for me. When it's like reskinned or not that innovative as an item or interesting as that item, that's when it kind of makes me angry. Or I think a lot of people, like particularly in the Destiny space, they're kind of angry that like the best item sets you can get in the game are purchased rather than earned. Like that they go like, oh, this one's the coolest one, put it in the store.
Kind of like
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that hurts, right? That you're like, I want to at least be able to get something else that's equally interesting in the world. Like I want to buy the cool one too. Not to say you have to make something that's attractive in the store, but for the things in the world to be less interesting or to lose value or to lose story, I think there is a real challenge and balance in game development and in trying to equate those things.
Yeah. Miller in the office has always been kind of against loot boxes, and one of his points that always stuck with me was about how if, these systems where it's cosmetics behind microtransactions, if they weren't monetizing that, you'd be getting cosmetics through like in-game progression. Like there used to be gameplay systems that would reward you with cosmetics and stuff. And it's hard not to unsee that where it's like, I could be earning this stuff in a fun way, or it could just be like,
there could be a lot more rewards in the game that you could be earning rather than just have like 5 items in a backpack.
Yeah. Division 2, I will say, did a good job of like constantly dropping cosmetic stuff. At least when I played it. I was very happy with I didn't have to put money in to get tons of fun cosmetic items.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. And there's games that do it wrong and there's games that do it right, which I think is pretty much everything that has to do with microtransactions across the board. That there's it's tough. But I think it's an interesting question. All right. Thank you, Mike from Maryland.
Thanks, Mike.
We appreciate it. So this next question is going to continue our long running thing of we're building a weird town.
Building the town, the GI town.
We're building a very weird GI town. And so if you're a first-time listener, we have a bunch of podcasts over the last 3 months where we are choosing and creating storefronts, a hardware store, a monster shop, haunted house, things like that. So this one, hi GI crew. I love the show. I check it out every week and love all the content you guys put out. I have a scenario, game similar to the one that you've had recently. Due to the nationwide epidemic of unwanted hair growth, Game Informer decides to open up a hair salon.
And this is real. Like, there's an epidemic right now.
There really is.
Why
We're not
is that
talking about,
necessary? People go to barbers in our current world.
Yeah, no, this is important.
Okay.
Nobody does it well.
Since this epidemic appeared quickly, out of the blue, GI only has time to master 5 different video game themed haircuts before the big opening.
Right. Urgency.
Which
Ticking
5
clock.
hairstyles from popular video game characters do you go with? So we get to choose the 5 haircuts that we give. I mean, we're basically defining fashion in our world.
Yeah.
This is important stuff.
This is
It's really important.
Guile flat top.
Oh, yeah, that was going to be my first one.
Yeah.
You stole
that's
it.
really good.
It's like kind of Karen Gaming.
Yeah.
Kyle Flat Top.
Guile.
Guile. I was like, who's Kyle?
You'd pronounce it Guile. Bayonetta's hair.
Yeah.
Which is like her
Give people
clothing,
like a
right?
boot.
Bayonetta's hair.
It kicks people in the butt.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
I'm
I'm trying to think of iconic hair.
I feel like we should do the like mullet from hockey players, just so so it's there, just to kind of like just to have the mullet there.
I mean, Snake kind of has a mullet, doesn't he?
Snake has the snake
okay.
mullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it
Snake
cool
mullet.
finally,
That's
yeah.
the way to do it.
Yeah.
I think I like the snake mullet.
Yeah.
I think what the cloud spike hair,
Yeah.
cloud
Just
spike
to
for
see
sure.
that in real life
the
would be
clapping,
good.
Cloud hair. I think the cloud hair is good.
Yeah.
the classic Japanese hair.
Yeah.
The Lynch from Kane and Lynch.
Oh,
is what,
who
just
can
messy?
forget?
Bald on the top, long on the
Long.
sides.
Oh yeah.
Well,
That's
a
a
lot of people
bad
want
haircut.
that.
Wow.
Yeah. What about Dr. Wiley? The crazy like tufts he has in the mustache going out.
Very similar to a Lynch, honestly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very
I never
similar to
do
the
that
Lynch.
comparison before, but yeah, they do
Yeah.
kind of have a
Krusty
similar
the
vibe.
Clown.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
just the top of the head, or do beards count in some
think-
way?
Wait, it says
We could do beards.
Yeah.
an epidemic of unwanted hair growth.
I
I
should
mean,
have some classic beards then.
but I also Bayonetta Lynch.
We could
That's her
do.
full
What
name,
is the
I think, yeah.
Bayonetta hair? I'm trying to think. She's just got the big ponytail,
It
right?
morphs. We'd give people morphing hair
Morphing
that
hair.
forms into their
That's
clothes.
the epidemic.
Oh,
that
okay, I
they're trying
gotcha.
to
That
cure.
you can, that
that's
you can
true.
wear. That you can wear your hair.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I gotcha.
I
All
would
right.
do that. Maybe.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everyone's
Wild.
a Sasquatch at that point, kind of thing. Like just
But it looks like clothes. Is the thing.
yeah.
So
Oh,
it can
okay.
look like
Okay.
whatever
Gotcha.
you
It'd be
want.
funny if it just looked like a chimpanzee. It just covered in hair.
Any other? I mean, I think the cloud one, or like the anime, like
Yeah.
fire hair, essentially.
DBZ.
DBZ. Like
Right.
that's a standard, right?
Yeah.
Or the fire hair from Ring Fit Adventure when you got a good groove going and your hair starts on
Your
fire.
hair's on
Oh, like the
fire.
sweet
yeah.
tooth?
Oh,
Your hair
that's
turns
awesome.
into fire more.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
You like that?
Hair
fire
as
hair.
fire.
Hair as
That's
fire.
great.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a character name to put with this fire
That's
hair?
the problem.
Sweet tooth.
Me.
Me.
Who's the main character in Ring Fit Adventure? Who's running around? You know.
Sweet tooth.
Sweet tooth.
You haven't been reading the journals, and listening to the audio logs.
yeah.
Day 24.
So we have the I guess we have the kind of like classic like anime hair.
Yeah.
We have the mullet from Snake. We have the flat top from Guile. Guile. We have the Lynch, which I actually like the Lynch. Right? Are you guys down on the Lynch?
What is it again? He's got a shaved top and
That's
then-
not shaved. He's like male pattern
Oh,
baldness.
okay, he's
but
kind of bald, but he's got long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you're right. It's the Krusty the Clown.
Yeah.
There's a lot of characters that have rocked this truly horrible haircut.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're doing facial hair, should Waluigi be in that with that mustache?
Yeah.
The
Well,
crazy.
I like the Captain Price handlebar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one's in every character select too. It's a very versatile.
Yeah.
That's the way. It's like mohawk. Like if you have a character like hair select, it's got to have that style.
Yeah.
What about like the Chun-Li?
The
Oh, the little
The buns?
ponytail things.
Yeah, the kind of like it's almost like a Princess Leia
Yeah.
a little bit.
Leah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how many women's hair options we have here. It's probably good to.
Include one. I mean, I
Yeah.
like the Princess Leia. I don't know why the double
I mean,
buns.
a girl could always go for the Lynch.
I thought this town was no girls allowed.
No, it's not. It's not.
We're
Oh,
the
okay.
only barber shop in this town.
Yeah, I remember.
With this hair epidemic. going
I
on.
do think. I mean, I think we need to offer some kind of option that's not. That's not awful. I mean, I think I'd be like, I'll take the anime hair. Like, I take the anime hair. Which one would you take so far out of what we have?
Fire hair.
Fire hair.
Definitely
Fire
fire,
hair,
hair.
yeah.
Sounds painful.
Oh, the fire hair is the best. Well,
You can't wear a hat. You can't do anything.
Sweet Tooth's not screaming like his head hurts, right?
I don't. Maybe that's why he's
Is
doing
no
it.
nerve ending.
Got
I
naughty
also feel like the
stuff.
fire hair is anime hair. I feel like we should have some kind of cut you can actually get, not just be fire.
Oh,
You'd never have to worry about like ticks in your hair, probably.
Finally.
great
Yeah,
point.
finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we let it stop us before? The
No.
Achievability.
Yeah,
of
we're
this?
always putting one really dumb thing in our little town.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. The Captain Price.
I like that one.
You like that one?
I mean, that's just a classic good one. If you actually want a good haircut and beard.
And then we'd have a town full of people with handlebar mustaches.
I do feel like
That sounds awesome.
Street Fighter is actually surprisingly good with haircuts. Because I like Cammy's got good hair.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's
her hair
there's
again?
like she's got those long. I mean like I don't know like crazy long braids.
Yeah. Ken.
Okay.
Ken. I mean, there's like a lot of classic haircuts in Street
Ken's
Fighter.
killing it.
Ken was really. He should bleach his eyebrows, though. He's not fooling anybody.
Yeah.
Who's the old dude in Tekken with like he
Heihachi?
has
Oh, yeah.
he's bald in the middle. He's got but then it like goes up like he's Super Saiyan a little bit. You know what I'm talking
Sticks
about?
straight out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he put product in it to make it stick out like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could put that product in to make it stick out like
could
that.
Exactly. We could do it.
It's like a cane with product.
Yeah.
Or sorry, a lynch.
It is like a lynch with product.
Sorry, I
essentially, is what it is.
mispronounced lynch. That's how I pronounce lynch.
All right, so we need 5. So so the Guile flat top's 100%, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
It's the most iconic haircut in gaming.
The snake mullet's 100%, right?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. The Cloud anime hair
In,
DBZ,
right?
that's in, right?
That's probably it.
I mean, are we categorizing that all to just anime hair? Because I feel like the Cloud Spike is different than like a Goku.
That's true.
That's
Is
true.
that fair?
That's true.
I would
Yeah.
do the cloud.
Do you just want to do Cloud then?
I don't like Cloud's hair.
You don't like
I
Cloud's
don't
hair?
want it.
Well, but hold on. The new style of cloud or like the old school, like original design?
Pixel art hair.
It looked bigger in my mind. They've toned it down since. I think I liked it better when it was
Interesting.
bigger.
It's almost like Mario 64 is like a
Yeah.
tamed down version of Cloud's hair too, if you think about
The
it.
thing about Cloud's hair is after watching Something About Mary, I kind of can never look at his hair without...
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Please explain.
No, I don't really want to do
saying
that.
that's what
You got to do that on your own.
I think we have a
I'm
clip.
just saying,
Do
like,
some
I don't know
research on
why.
your own.
We're not gonna discuss that here.
Yikes.
But yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's a weird connection I have.
Yeah, fair.
We'll talk later.
But
I'll
so not
allow it.
Cloud. So do you want DBZ hair?
I would prefer it personally. I
we
feel
say,
like just
like-
because I'd look better.
But that's not a video game. I mean, there are games based on
Can we
it,
say
though.
like
Right.
Chrono Trigger or like a Toriyama haircut?
Huh.
Yeah, what's that like?
Do you like the Chrono haircut better than Cloud?
I mean, I feel like they're all the same, which is like
They're very similar.
Like
Yeah.
it's all like
Big.
spiky, big. Like that's why I think we could call it.
I think we're just splitting hairs here, guys.
I think we are too.
Oh.
I think we go with like kind of a Cloud / DBZ anime hair. Like we'll cater it to you.
Yeah.
Like when you're there, we'll do our best to give you the best like aerodynamic, spiky.
You choose like when to.
Yeah, a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends
When
on
you
how
get
much hair you
mad, it
have.
gets bigger.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think that's like that's acceptable, but that's 100% in.
It's acceptable.
Sure.
So now we have some more. We have the fire hair, sweet tooth fire hair. We have Captain Price. We have Bayonetta. We have the Lynch. What else do you want in? What else is in our store?
Should we swap the
What is
lynch
in our-
out
our
for
salon?
the mullet? Because it's kind of like a mullet.
We have the snake hair.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Can we
Oh.
just swap them?
I think the snake mullet needs to stay.
Yeah, because if you're a bald gentleman, it becomes that.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Okay.
just you get the one haircut. And it's just
kind of a
it's just
twofer.
like genetics decided that
Right.
for you.
If I may,
Oh.
Yes.
in a world where hair growth is an epidemic, would there not be a style where you do male pattern baldness just as a trend? You know?
Oh, you're saying like
It'd be in.
that it would be that you would want to get that in
In a
particular.
class.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it makes you stand out
Yeah.
in a Bayonetta
It'd be
world.
like getting plugs today, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
It's like waxing for your scalp.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
that's an interesting take. But I mean, like I think we can do any kind of. I tell you what, we could offer just to like we can do who's got a great shaved head in video games.
Hitman.
Pac-Man.
Hitman.
Hitman, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we give you the Hitman. We give you the
give
the
you the
47.
tattoo in the
I think
back,
we give
too.
you that. Then you can decide like, hey, leave a little bit on the sides. Right, then you get the lynch. You know what I mean? You can get and you can achieve what you want here, which
And
is
the-
that in a world of this, you could go counter.
And the barcode is like made out of hair, right?
I've always thought canonically that's what it was.
I like
fringe.
doing the Hitman one.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Hitman cut.
I think that's a good option. Let's do that.
Yeah.
We got to do one for the ladies.
Yeah, I think we definitely do. Bayonetta, Chun-Li, Leia's in games
Chun-Li
technically.
is more interesting, I think.
Yeah, the Chun-Li.
But that's sort of a style than a cut, right? You've cut the
Yeah.
thing. It's just a haircut that's like normal hair, and then she's put it up in buns.
Right.
Does that matter?
How about a Laura Croft?
It's Lay Ray.
Lay Ray?
Croofed.
Laura?
We could do that. She's gone through a number of haircuts
Yes.
The
over
braid,
the
though,
years.
right?
All right. Well,
pretty
so
straightforward.
originally she had that really long braid,
Yeah.
which again, that's more of a style thing, but
Well, I mean,
that's cool. Right?
let's be very clear. It's a style when you have a snake mullet, right? Like you're saying something with that, right?
Well, but you've cut it into a mullet, but you're adding things to it, like by braiding it.
Yeah, I guess
I
that's
don't
true.
know.
But I mean, that's a haircut.
But
You're
if
like,
that's
I
where we
want to
wanna
come
go,
in.
we could do that.
What do you like? What do you like? The Croft?
Seems like we have not really thought this through.
Oh wait,
This
are you
particular
saying
haircut.
you don't want to open this store? You're saying we?
I think we do
haven't
the
thought
Croft. I
You
like
think
the
the
Croft.
Croft?
The
Alright.
Croft works.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the Croft.
Princess Peach.
All right, so that's our store.
Croft and Lynch.
That's our hair. Man, we have really built an amazing city. So when you come to our hair salon,
Yeah.
you can get the Guile flat top. You can get the snake mullet, which we can make some alterations to that as you need it along the way.
That one, I'd say we probably have that mastered already.
Yeah, we probably do.
I
we
could do that.
We have the kind of anime cloud hair, DBZ hair. We can get you. Hitman 47. We can get you the clean cut.
clean.
The clean.
That's what we
Mr.
call it.
Clean. Yeah.
And Mrs. Croft's haircut.
Mrs.
Yes.
Mrs.
Oh,
Congratulations.
She's so down. Yeah.
Very nice.
I can screw it up no matter which way we go about it. I'm trying not to say her name just to like anger people. So this is not like so the Croft is our fifth and final edition. So that is it. Our final question for this community email section is, hello, it's award season, so I thought I'd like to hear what you think are the top 5 video game movies of all time. After you pick your nominees, you must decide the winner of the best video game movie of all time. Adam from Austin, Texas. And by the way, the previous one was from Blue from Orlando, which I should mention.
Blue? Orlando Blue.
Orlando Blue. Yeah. I don't think we need to. I think when we talked about this in the pre-production was that like I don't know if we can get 5 video game movies. So let's just talk about video game movies. Is there any video game movie that you like?
Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the most fun I've had
was
watching
easy.
a video game movie. And
Yeah.
even that, it was like, it's pretty good and it was fun and I'll probably never see it again.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying the original first Tomb Raider movie.
I think the
Yeah.
first Tomb Raider movie is
Originally
really good.
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie. Yeah.
Same with Mortal Kombat. Was just it's a stupid fun movie.
Mortal Kombat's very fun to watch with
Yeah.
friends. That's totally just a fun movie.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And also the Street Fighter movie, even though it's bad, is kind of good in its own sense, right? The original Street Fighter movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of bad video game
Is it bad in
movies.
a good way, or is it just bad?
I don't know. It's hard to differentiate. I think to some degree. I've enjoyed that movie for all the wrong reasons. Maybe is the right answer. I mean, it's definitely not the greatest video game movie of all time. That's 100% sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do animated movies count? Like animated cartoon movie? Does it have to like release in theaters? Are there Oscar rules here? Because
What movie?
It
you're
has to
thinking of?
win the Oscar
Well,
for
just-
Best Picture.
I know there's. I know there were a bunch of like Street Fighter animated films. That
Yes, there
released.
were, yeah.
That's why I guess I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Okay. Yeah. There were some good ones. That would count.
Don't you like the Doom or not Doom? The Warcraft movie, Andy?
I did enjoy the Warcraft movie more, but it's one of those things. I think this is the problem everyone has with video game movies. You walk into them going, "I'm prepared to be disappointed," right? You never walk into them going, "This is going to be great." You're like, "I'm going because I like this, but I'm prepared for this to be a disaster."
The sheer force of momentum that has carried me to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the World of Warcraft movie was very good. I actually saw that the director the other day just pointed out that it's like the most. I think it did like 400 million in China, or the Asian markets that it did very, very well. So it's actually one of the most successful video game movies. You know, I don't know if it is the most successful. I don't know how well Tomb Raider did, but I liked it. I liked the movie. I mean, it's dumb in parts, but I thought it was good. It's like Detective Pikachu, which I actually liked more than I thought I would like as well. It's just you're like,
It's a good movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
that worked out.
That was the movie 10-year-old Alex would like have lost his mind over. So I liked it a lot. Do you guys is there like one that you were most anticipating going into it?
There's always been such a low bar, which is like a shame for us being in this business that it's like, oh, video game movie? Now I know not to check that out.
R-rated Mortal Kombat, though, right?
Yeah, that's
Pretty
coming,
epic.
right?
Yeah, I
Gonna
don't
be
think I've ever been
yucky.
excited going into a theater to watch a video game movie.
I mean, I was on a plane and I sat and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch the Assassin's Creed movie. Now that I'm on a plane,
Yep.
I'm kind of trapped. I couldn't even, I got about 5 minutes in and I turned it off.
Yeah.
I think that's the one I was most excited about because
Really?
I love Fassbender. I love him, and I thought
Yeah.
if someone was going to do it, it could be Michael Fassbender. And boy, howdy, was I so wrong.
Yeah.
Oh my
Was
god.
he good in it at least?
It felt like he phoned it in from
Oh,
day one,
that
and he
sucks.
produced the thing. Like I was very disappointed.
Turns out a single actor can't just make or break a movie. Huh?
Shocking.
What about
Yeah.
Resident
Other
Evil?
actors.
Resident Evil.
Damn, those have always been kind I mean, I know people defend some of those, but like I think they're just bad. I mean, the first one's kind of campy, fun, dumb, but I don't know if it makes even top 5.
It's the first Silent Hill movie. Is that
That was
all
better
right?
than you expected.
Yeah, that's right.
It was kind of the thing there.
Well, I think we can come to do we think Detective Pikachu
Well,
is the greatest video
Can
game
we
movie?
open the envelope and just there's nothing inside?
There's
The
that.
curtain closes.
Ah, La La Land.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
House lights.
Yeah. Be like, no, moonlight.
So does Wreck-It Ralph count at all?
Oh,
On any
Shut
level?
up.
or Ready Player One.
Oh, see,
Pixels would win by that.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
God.
Of course,
Wow.
yes,
I mean, they made a video game later,
yeah, it wasn't.
and it's a
for
bunch of video
commercial
game
release, right?
references. I don't know. Maybe it counts.
Scott
It
Pilgrim
is
versus
good.
the World that would beat it for me if we're going by that metric, which
The
is a similar
Wizard.
thing. A
Oh,
video game
yeah.
inspired and a video game came out that was based on it.
Yeah.
That was a comic first, so I would default to that, I guess. But so
Oh, sure,
yeah,
but
maybe
they're
by
like hitting
those,
people and coins are popping out.
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff.
By those rules, I guess. Yeah, maybe Wreck-It Ralph.
I think we have to say the video game was first and the movie was
Yeah.
later. So I think Wreck-It
Fast and
Ralph
Furious,
doesn't count.
did the movies come first or did the game
That's a good
that comes out in May
question.
come out first?
I think the movies came first.
Okay.
But they were planning the game for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
They've been
Yeah.
working on it.
You know what game? Just because I think it'd be interesting to talk about that is admittedly bad, but bad in a really interesting way was the original Super Mario Brothers movie. Like looking back now, if you watch it, like they're making some interesting choices in that,
Yeah.
and like it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I've never
I
seen
don't think
it,
it's
but yeah.
above Pikachu, but it's like if you say, "Hey, you want to watch Pikachu again or Mario?" I might watch Mario again first.
That's a good point.
I will say Mario. I was so excited for that movie because that was kind of that's the cutting edge of this kind of like video game to movie thing, and it was like this is culturally important, and I couldn't have been more disappointed at
Yeah.
the time.
Sure.
I mean, it just was it was like, wow, that's bad. The Goombas, I just can never get that out of my head, right?
What a gem.
Nothing about that
Haunting.
movie is Mario Brothers, except for the guy named Mario, and he has a brother. Outside of that, it's not a Mario Brothers movie. That's what's so fascinating about it.
So the movies. I hope that changes though. I mean, I think now that the comic book movies have been taken seriously, that hopefully more video games to movies will be taken more seriously. Do we care?
Is there one that's coming that you're like, this could change it? Outside of like Detective Pikachu, because I know Illumination, who did the Despicable Me movies, are going to do Mario. Sony has the long gestating Uncharted movie with Tom Holland.
Oh yeah.
How many directors can it go through?
Exactly. Gears of War has been like a potential movie for like 30 years.
Gears of War.
There's that guy who keeps championing for Metal Gear, the guy who did Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
He's supposedly the director, right? Voight
yeah, but,
Roberts
like,
or
I don't-
whatever.
I don't think it's ever officially been a movie. I think he just wants to be the director, and he keeps
Oh,
calling
okay.
himself the director.
Yeah.
I see.
The Last of Us has a screenplay finished, right?
It's called The Road.
To answer your question, though, Alex,
Zinger.
I don't think I'm ever going to be excited about video game movies because, like, the reason I get excited about video games is because I'm a part of that story.
Yeah.
And even
Yeah.
though there's some great video game stories out there, well, I don't know. I think you lose something when it translates to film in a way that you don't lose with, like, a book or, like, a comic. Because those are, like, story-based mediums.
Yeah,
in
for
a way
sure.
that video games aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah. And you've also spent probably, if we're talking about a contemporary game, like 40 hours in this universe with these characters. So to see, like, here's a 2-hour slice of non-interactive form of this.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's a weaker version of the thing I love.
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I think to answer like what does Hollywood do with video game properties, I think it's TV. I don't think it's movies. I think TV is going to be the best place for that, and I think Witcher and the Castlevania anime are good examples of that.
Yeah,
but
that's
me.
true.
I guess Witcher is technically based on the books, but
I mean,
think it
Witcher's
still
super
applies.
excited. I mean, apparently Netflix is over the moon
Yeah.
with how well that thing is done. Like, I thought I saw some like 76 million or something
They
people like
yeah.
viewed it or interacted with it.
They
They
I'm-
said
do
it's
some
their
sketchy
most, yeah.
stuff with
Yeah,
how they
they
count.
do,
Like
yeah.
it's like if people watch 2 minutes or more. they
Yeah,
count that
it
as a
also
view.
auto-played to 40 million people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, that's cool. I mean, that's a good point. TV is a good place for it. And it's nice to see the kind of expanded universe stuff. And there's times like when I watch, like sometimes when I'm playing Blizzard games, I'm like, you should just take all these cool CG sequences you make and make a cool CG movie. I would think that's great.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe you're right. Like the best stories, if you write a great story, if you wrote a great story, you're like, you should save that for a really great game, and we should make a game with that.
Maybe an Overwatch movie would work because there's no
Yeah.
story you remember playing through or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be a
I
completely
want-
standalone thing.
I want that so bad. Yeah, that's my number one, I think, of something that I'd want to be good is Overwatch, either TV show or movie.
But then once Overwatch 2 comes out and it has the story mode, then the movie can't be good.
There you go.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Then dreams die.
Yeah.
But if you add up all those little segments they've done, the little like animated snippets, can you create a coherent narrative?
No.
No, you
would be a
cannot.
mess.
It takes
No,
place
you
in
cannot.
30 different times across 100 years.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, I think we've come to at least the conclusion that there's work in progress. There needs to be better.
Yeah.
Detective Pikachu, best video
Yes.
game movie ever made, B-.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's the truth. Well, thank you all for coming on and
Yeah.
talking and chatting and answering people's questions. Thank you for sending in your questions. So please, it's podcast@gameinformer.com. Send me more questions. I enjoy them. A lot of great talk. I responded to a number of people on there that had some great conversations that I didn't have time for, but I really do like hearing what you have to say. Thank you all for coming on the show. Thank you for listening. You know, like us, subscribe, get YouTube notices, do all those kind of things.
Yo, turn on that bell.
Yeah, turn on
Smash
that
that
bell.
subscribe, baby.
Yeah, smash, 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 smash.
Just start punching your screen.
yeah.
Like
also,
us, please, even if you don't like us.
Also, too, I should mention this. Game Informer has merchandise. We have shirts for sale. You can find it on the website. So you can have cool Game Informer shirts if you want them. Check them out. I think it's kind of our first batch, but they're up. We don't always talk about them. We're really bad at self-promotion, as you can tell. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that, just in case you were interested in getting yourself a cool video game T-shirt. And that's about it. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Thank you, as always, for listening. Fun, fun, fun. See you next week.